This is the Primal Fire Podcast with your host, Jayson the Argonaut.
Welcome to the Primal Fire Podcast. I am Jayson the Argonaut. And with me today, we're stepping up the game a little bit, about 20 clicks. So we got Hotep Jesus in the house. If you don't know who Hotep Jesus is, first of all, crawl out from under the rock. I've had to explain it 100 times, and y'all gonna learn today. I'm gonna learn today who the man is, all right? So we're talking author, we're talking marketing guru, we're talking tech aficionado. I mean, as seen on Rogan, as seen on Laura Ingraham, and most importantly, a very powerful voice in the political ocean. I say that because it is no doubt swimming with sharks. And so without further ado, it is so finally good to put voice to voice and speak voice to voice for a change.
Oh, yeah.
It's
our first time speaking. Yeah,
this is our first one.
Yeah, we usually we connect on Twitter. Yeah, you're right.
Yep, it was funny because I had been laid off from both of my jobs, and I was in Atlanta, so I'm just moved back here from Atlanta, and got laid off both of my jobs, and I went out, pulled a drunk, and went out to the woods, and I swear to you, I was lost. I didn't know where I was. It was behind my apartment, and there's these, so it's not here. I'm in North Carolina now. I got lost, and I said, man, you know what, this is stupid. And I pulled up Twitter to look, and you posted, you posted a snippet from Rogan, and I was like, man, I really enjoyed that episode. And I said, I'm gonna let him know, because that's what I do. I like to connect with people I look up to and things like that, and people that I learn from. And I said, that's a really great episode. You were like, thanks. Hotep Jesus is now following you. I said, all I did was say a thing that a lot of people have said before, but I said, you know what? While I'm out here in the woods, got me a little liquid courage. A buddy of mine said, you know what? You don't know till you ask. Hey man, how'd you like to be on my podcast? We talk about this and that. You said, dope, let's book that. Yeah. I texted everybody. I texted my mom. My mom's 70. She don't know what a Hotep is. Mm-hmm. I texted I started running. I'm like, I got to get out of these woods and tell everybody, because I got to interview Hotep before I die. Yeah. And so I finally got out, started telling everybody, and legit nobody knew who you were. And I said, this is kind of weird. So it's really cool because I get to branch out a little bit, and you're the very first big name public figure to be up here. So to say I'm honored that you're here is just complete understatement.
Wow, I'm humble. People say this is like big account or public figure. This is all still new to me. Like where I see myself is, I'm like nowhere near where I'm supposed to be at. So I'm humbled by that. The reason why I followed you back is I wrote the book on Twitter, Dominate Twitter, and it looked like you understood Twitter. You look like a high value person I wanted in my network. And I was like, I think I like this guy. I checked out, before I follow somebody, I do a little bit of, research, check out their timeline, see what they're talking about. And I'm like, nah, this is one of the real dudes. And it's really hard to find real people. There's a lot of posers and grifters, and you just seem really organic. So I was like, nah, I'm going to connect with this dude.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine on the podcast a while back, Kicking in Crisis, and she's been through a lot of trauma in her life and whatnot, and she and I connected. I think she was my third guest, because this whole podcast thing was supposed to be a joke. I used to do these top 10s on Facebook before I got off, and it was these tough love, kind of the stuff that you do, because people are always reacting, with emotion. They're bringing emotion into a logical situation, and emotion is always going to outdo logic in a bad way, and logic's always going to trump emotion. Oops, I said Trump. But I asked her. I said, Kate, from a, and she's not typical, kind of like, I guess you could say typical woman, but what is it? She's like, you're authentic. And I said, oh shit. And that made me realize that that's what I've got to, so I got to hold myself to that. So that's what I try to do now. That's what I do. I'm getting ready to start my coaching business. I've been a trainer for years and years. But aside from that, how long ago were you on Rogan?
About a year ago.
Okay, I thought it was about a year, because I went back and I was watching. Okay, yeah, I went back today and I was watching some snippets. Did you go back and watch yourself?
That day I did, yeah.
Did you?
I usually don't watch my interviews, but I did. I was like, because I felt hypnotized, right? I feel like Joe Rogan hypnotized me because I went in to that interview like, look, we're not gonna be full blown Hotep Jesus. We're gonna cut it back a little bit because this is close to mainstream. And then when I got out of there, I'm like, yo, I went full Hotep Jesus. What the heck just happened? And I couldn't remember a thing about what we talked about. Maybe just like that last piece. So I had to go back and kind of like relive the moment. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched probably like the first hour and a half.
Yeah, I went back and watched it today because one of the things that stood out was your eyes were this big the whole time. They were just like this the whole time. And when I first saw it last year when it first dropped, I was like, who is this? Is he high? And now high people are kind of close-eyed. Like, why does he have light beam? This guy is a legit Hotep, like an Egyptian. One of the aliens that came down and visited the Egyptians, and that's him. He's a real Hotep. And your eye, and it was almost along the lines. It's almost as creepy as that GIF of you bouncing up and down. That thing that's going viral.
What happened was I was dealing with jet lag because I was going East Coast to West Coast. And then I had a double shot of espresso. I've never had a double shot of espresso in my life. So I did a double shot of espresso right before Rogan. And then during the interview, I took my glasses off. And so in order to focus on Joe Rogan, I had to open my eyes bigger to see him, And plus, when I get serious or, some people will say, you're on Adderall. And I'm like, no, I'm just focused on like whatever's on my screen. Cause sometimes when I'm looking at my screen, I'm reading, I open my eyes real big. My daughter has the same thing. People say she has big eyes. And it's just when we're focused on something, our eyes get real big.
Yeah, I thought it was hilarious because you said, and you were talking about you bring a different energy to it, or you at least tried to bring a different energy, but it was Joe Rogan. You had it's like you had to fill your own shoes at that point. It's like I got to go full Hotep. I got to, and but you were on a different podcast a few weeks ago. I can't remember the guy's name. No, it wasn't that. No, it was a kind of nerdy white guy with glasses. He's real. No, it wasn't Scott Adams. It was he looked like the typical IT guy you would call who hates his IT job, and you call him and he's like, "Did you cut it off or cut it back on?" He's real soft spoken, and but the point is, when you came in there, it was a different energy because you were on somebody else's podcast. And so you were no longer on HN. You were there, and there was this air of humility and this humbleness. And a lot of people don't see that from you because I think a lot of people just see you on Twitter and they see the things you put out there, and they see that you block 13,000 people a month and things like that, and they don't see that gentler side. A lot of people don't know that you're a father. A lot of people don't know that you've been with the same woman forever. Something that doesn't happen a whole lot. And I wanted to get into that too. But man, I've been blocking people left and right too, man. You got to,
it's self-care. And the thing is, it's about, guys like us provide a high amount of value, right? And we motivate people. And that type of stuff needs to be exclusive. While we're wasting energy on somebody who's hating on us, we're taking away time from people who love us. So I'm very much a matter of, you don't like this channel? Because that's what this is. It's a channel, right? So usually what you do is you change the channel. But since you've opted not to change the channel, I'm going to remove your access to this channel. And that's how I look at it,
Yeah, because one of the biggest issues is it just kills me because that's what I loved about, because the things that you say just stick with me because I'm on my second read through of Dominate Twitter. And it's which I want to get to as well because
it's better on the second read, isn't it?
and I'm definitely gonna get. That's what happens. This is what happens when you live in the '80s and have some '80s headphones.
Oh, okay.
And, I promise I'm sober right now. So, all right.
But yeah, it gets better on the second read, right?
So it was crazy because I want to dive into that because but Yeah, what I was saying, like, like you said, if you don't like it, change the channel, because what happens is if you come at me, because what we got right now, I don't like to take over as the host, but when somebody gives me cues, I end up saying stuff. So I'm gonna try to keep it brief.
When
I was a teenager, I was thinking about this the other day. When I was a teenager, went to the beach with a couple of friends, and they had this little, one of them had a little brother. He's about 10 years old. His name was Brian. Brian with an I.
All right.
So huge difference. So, and he was just a bad kid, but he was also hilarious. He was one of those who was way ahead of his time, but like crackhead ahead of his time, because his dad was a crackhead. So he just out of nowhere, we're just hanging out, and just out of nowhere he goes, "We should have a ding-a-ling fight." Now imagine what that does to you when you're pretty, we're like 18, we're grown men.
Yeah.
There's a 10-year-old kid just at random. Like if one of your kids says that to another kid, you're like, "Yeah, that's my kid, that's my boy." Ding-a-ling fight. So that's what we're in right now. And what people don't understand is that they're also bringing little dick energy to a big dick energy showdown, knife to a gunfight, and they come at you with semantics.
Right.
So what makes you think that you're going to come onto my Twitter, which is a dictatorship, not a democracy,
right?
And I'm going to get, you know what? I didn't think about the straw man aspect of it. You're absolutely right, Daniel. You changed my mind. You've changed my whole entire concept. Not only am I not going to block you, I'm going to follow you back, and I'm going to make sure you get a blue check mark.
Yeah. Not going to happen.
I mean, ding-a-ling fight. We're seeing the same thing. With everything going on now, with everybody. So I don't want to get too deep into it because everybody can go see that. They can go see that stuff. Mm-hmm. But when someone says a thing, and by the time you retort, even if your retort is good, your retort is still pretty much worthless because it's an argument at that point. It's a ding-a-ling fight.
Yeah.
And so like when somebody comes with all lives matter, you that's not going to win. That's right. Not how you come. You just made it worse. You did was make it worse because you said the right place, wrong time is what you did. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of that ding-a-ling fight going on, and that's what I think about every time I see that. Well, somebody ran up at Hotep Jesus again with a ding-a-ling out and it getting blocked, and that's exactly what we're seeing now. And I used to be bad about it, man, with arguing with people, but I'm not going to argue with feminine energy, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's two basic types of arguments. You have some people who are looking to argue to understand, and there's some people that are arguing because they want to win some fake prize that doesn't exist, right? And I can sense that. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people can sense when somebody is arguing to argue or arguing to understand. So if somebody is coming to argue to understand, I'll argue with you all day because you're looking to find common ground. You're looking to understand, and you'll present an opposing idea, and I'll tell you why it doesn't work or why I think it doesn't work, and we can just agree to disagree if there's no middle ground. But what I find is often when people argue to understand, usually like neither one of us wins the argument, but we just understand each other, right? And that's what people have to understand is that these arguments need to come to a place of understanding. I need to understand why you believe all lives matter, and you need to understand why people say Black lives matter, and if everybody just put down their defensiveness, if, the Black Lives Matter people put down their defensiveness and the All Lives Matter people put down their defensiveness, you find out you guys are saying the same exact thing a lot of the times, it's just which group do you favor? But yeah, once I see somebody arguing, and I'm like, if I rebut, what are they going to do? They're probably just going to rebut. And I just wasted 10 minutes of my life when I could have spent that helping somebody who really needed help.
Yeah, because like you said, when you're providing value, you provide the value right out the gate. And if they didn't get it the first time around, they're not going to get it the second time around. And all they're looking for is clout. And social media clout is the most worthless clout you can possibly have unless you have something else, because you have something else guys like Zuby have something else. There's a lot of guys out there who have other things going on. So if they just want to get up there, it's like I say, kind of take the, I think Ed Lattimore said something to this effect, but I tell people, I don't stir the shit pot. I just hand people the stick. Now, what you want to do with it's up to you, but don't hand the stick back to me. No, I don't want the shit covered stick. I just handed it to you. There's the pot. Do what you want. And I've also pretty much come close to blocking. I almost came close to blocking somebody that I actually admire pretty well. She's real hardcore, real hardcore Trump supporter. She's kind of girl that if Trump broke wind on national TV, she would just put it on loop and listen to it while she does her chores and stuff. And I get it. And so I posted, I said, women are dangerous. Left it at that.
Yeah.
I didn't say all women are dangerous. I also didn't say some women are dangerous. I just said women are dangerous. Now you can take that and do whatever the hell you want with it. And she did. So she came up in there, feminine energy. Here she came. Men are more dangerous. There it is. You just gave the absolute. I shied away from the absolute. You just gave the absolute. Yeah. So I give you one, because it's a dictatorship. I give you one. So I said, false. I said, men aren't intelligent enough to be dangerous. It's different. There's a huge difference between a man's intelligence and a woman's cunning. A woman's dangerous is ingrained in her DNA. A man's got to learn how to be dangerous.
Yeah. So
I said, men aren't smart enough for that. I said all this stuff. And she was like, false. When somebody's trying to manipulate you, blah, 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 blah. And I left it. And I went to her and I hovered over it. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to block her. So I was in a bad mood, dude. I woke up in a shitty mood. And it's better to just, if you got people to come up at you and they got 27 followers, block the fuck out of them. If they're friends and they disagree, you have to realize that you do have friends that are going to disagree with you. And some of your friends, if you have, I don't have many female friends. Mm-hmm. I'm able to be friends with ones that I'm not, attracted to in that way. But if you have a disagreement and they don't take it too far, they don't start throwing insults, it's fine to let them hang around. But if somebody comes up at you with bullshit.
Yeah, with women, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm less likely to block a woman than I am a man. All right. Like guys, I'm just like, I have no remorse. I don't care. Women, I'm just like, it's like, oh, you're hurt by this tweet. It's so cute. Like I just look at him as like, like I say in my book, Unbreakable Rules of Masculinity, women are just grown 4-year-olds, right? So when they come in my mentions and they start arguing, usually I just ignore them. Just like, oh, whatever, lady, it's probably that time of the month for you or something like that, or you're going through menopause or you're just being an emotional chick.
Yeah, they get a pass. And I think it was in the Rational Male that Rollo said that women don't age past 18. And that shit.
I was past 6.
Right? I mean, I look at women that are really, really mature, like 40-year-old women, but all it takes is one thing. And when that feminine energy comes out, that 6-year-old comes out, yelling at the cable company. It's like they just hooked up the cable. Like, give it a minute, You don't call the cable company. You got all, there's all these more red flags in a communist nation. You just added one more yelling at the cable company. But I can see why. And now that you mention it, I do notice that. But because you expect feminine energy from women. Yeah. I don't deal with that from men. I can't deal with it.
I'm not dealing with feminine energy from men.
It's like the whole toxic masculinity thing. It's men, okay, you're either toxic or you're masculine. So, right. There's no cold fire. You can't take a thing and make it another thing. Yeah. And because men, they say with all the rage and the violent outbursts and the blah, 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 that's not masculine, because men with high testosterone who have, masculine levels of that, they don't act like that. They don't get out here and throw temper tantrums. That's feminine energy. You were talking about that. You've talked about that several times past few months.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, I mean, I just look at it as myself. Like, I come across, I don't check my timeline much, but when I do, I come across a lot of nonsense that I just don't agree with, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't feel like I should be compelled to respond to it. It's just like, that's your opinion, that's your opinion. I just, I keep it moving. I think there's a lost art in minding your own business. You know, you see something you don't like, then keep it moving. But there's something more powerful you can do with other people's opinions, and it's monetize them, or turn them into bodies of work. So, I might see something on the timeline, and instead of responding directly to that person, they just became the subject of my daily email newsletter, right? So, and then at the end of the daily newsletter, I'm going to sell you a product. So I can monetize somebody's dumbass opinion, and they wouldn't even know it, right? They're just a piece of discovery for me. It's just something I'm going to use. And sometimes, I might not agree with the thought, but it's interesting enough for me to dissect and to show people what's wrong with it. But I don't feel like I should enter their mentions and be like, yo, I disagree with this and let's argue. It's like, I don't care that much to try and change your mind about something. And I think, that's because, I turned 40 this year. So I'm getting a lot older. I'm getting a lot more mature. And, I'm just not caring about as much things as I used to. And I'm starting to understand the world a lot better. And I'm understanding what is inevitable and what's not inevitable. So the things that are inevitable, I think about long-term thinking of how I can make them uninevitable, but you can't make them uninevitable with a tweet. It takes a lot longer planning and resources, like my one little tweet that I'm going to argue with is not going to win me anything. Right. Yeah. So like, what do I get out of it? What do I get out of giving you my energy?
Yeah. And it's funny because that's one of the things that you talk about in Dominate Twitter. And people need to realize, so whether you're, content creator, startup, anything like that. So Twitter can be useful. You have to learn what each platform is for. So Instagram is really good if you're a validation seeking narcissist, or you're a woman, a attractive female with big tits. I ran across a profile the other day, had 350,000 followers. All of her pictures were selfies. Oh, yeah. I don't mean the occasional, every last one. She was a selfie account, 350,000 followers. Oh yeah. So that's what that's good for. Twitter is really good for content creators. I found that as far as stuff like, I was in the film industry, I got out of that. I play music, I have kind of an alter ego thing. It doesn't fly with people on Twitter. It does fly on Instagram. Actors and musicians do well on there. But the thing about Dominate Twitter that I picked up on with about the 5th or 6th page was that it's more about dominating everything. So you can bring these principles into every aspect of your life. And that's the point. This is not a 9-page fluff book about how to get followers. This is not what this is about. This is how to use it. The smallest part about this is how to use Twitter for what it's designed for. Right. The book as a whole is designed to help you do everything to be successful with or without Twitter in your life. That's the beauty of it. It's called Dominate Twitter, and you named it very intelligently because that's what people want. They want followers. They want attention and validation. So you named it right. And then if they have half a brain cell, I don't know. I don't want to insult everybody, but if they have at least 2.5 brain cells, they'll pick up on the fact that, whoa, this book is a whole lot deeper. And like you said, it's way better the second time around. What got you to conceive the whole thing?
So I've been in marketing, probably since 1996 was when I created my first logo for DJ Rit Rat in our high school. I made his first set of business cards. I had a printing business, and I was printing just right off the printer at home. I had the software and everything. So I printed his first set of business cards. And I used to market software for hackers on AOL chat rooms, ICQ, MIRC. And then we moved to Black Planet. Black Planet, I was doing native advertising before I knew it was called native advertising, but it was basically a page of all the hottest Black chicks on the website. And I had a Macromedia Fireworks, which is doesn't exist anymore, but it was Macromedia's version of Photoshop. So I would take pictures of my friends. I'd make banner ads, and so it'd be hot chick, banner ad, get clicked, to go to my friend's page. So really popular. And then I got a phone call one day from my dude. He was like, yo, when I first saw this page, I knew it was you. But then when I scrolled down and I saw your ad, I was like, I knew it was him. So, back then I was just, doing that. And so I had one of the more popular pages, but I used it to grow my page, right? It's like, if I put it, everybody's here wants to find out where the hot chicks are, and I want chicks. So I was like, and I actually started dating one of the chicks on my page, right? And she was hot as hell. But, I had those banner ads. And it showcased my, I was building websites since 1996. I was showcasing my HTML skills and so on and so forth. And so then MySpace came around. I had my photography business. My homie had a T-shirt creation business. He was connected to super hot models that were like in the urban industry, like the booty type models. And so we had a nice, strong street team. I had a record label at the same time. We would like completely dominate MySpace. I remember getting a phone call from one of my friends. He was like, yo, did you hack MySpace? And I was like, nah, we just have a really large network. But we had a lot of teamwork. It was a lot of team cohesion, because when we created a new piece of content, everybody made it their profile pic, whether it's my face or my friend's face. It was no ego involved. We were a team. So when we took over back then we had a message board on MySpace. So when we took over the message board, and I had a adder robot. So the adder robot used to add everybody within a certain zip code. So we would take over zip code by zip code. Right. And then we'd have like thousands of followers, zip code by zip code. So when we took over the message board, it looked like we literally hacked MySpace. Then MySpace became less popular, and it was all about Facebook. And I just never liked Facebook. In fact, when I got on Facebook, I had to create a fake EDU account because back then it was only college kids that were allowed. And I got on there and I was just like, I really don't like this thing too much. This is kind of stupid. And I still don't like Facebook. And then Twitter came around. So I was like, ooh, at first I was like, oh, no, I don't like this. And my friend Dwayne Harry was like, he was like, yo, you should try out Twitter. And I was like, then I got over my ego and I was like, all right, let me try this thing out. And then, I fell in love with it ever since. But so we went from printing business. Then I built my first e-com website in like 98, 99. It was for this Indian guy who had these antique coins, and he wanted to showcase them on the website and sell them. So I built the e-com website for him. And then he was a really jerk client. So I built the website, I got paid, and I left it alone. I'm like, if you want somebody to update this, I'll give you the logins and all of that, but I don't want to deal with this anymore. Because I was young, I was like this young kid, is this older guy, and he's trying to take advantage of me because I was a little kid, but I'm not no dummy, you know what I mean? And I was traveling to his house, taking the pictures of his coins. It was like doing way more than what I was getting paid for. So I was the photographer and the dev and traveling to his house, and he just couldn't respect me enough for that. He wanted more for the money and didn't want to pay me for the additional services. So I stopped that. But then I had like I said, I had a photography business at the same time. So I was doing photography at parties, and then my friend had all the models and stuff like that. And then I had my own record label, and then my artist got incarcerated. So then I was like, and he was my premier artist. He was really, really good. And we had a lot of success. I mean, we got him inside one movie that got picked up by Warner. It was like a straight to hood DVD type thing, but it did get picked up by one of the majors. But it was popular in Newark. It was huge. We had Tretch from Naughty by Nature was there. When we did a screening, we were there with Joe Button, and we were really connected. We did some stuff with Funk Master Flex and Tat Wizard. Back then, you didn't market with the internet. The internet didn't exist how it existed today. There was the internet, but it wasn't like how it is with all the social media networks. So back in those days, you had to put feet to pavement. So I had a natural hustle. And then when my artist got incarcerated, my homie Demick, who actually went to high school with my artist, and he was kind of frustrated with the people he was working with because they were just pure artists, and me and Demick are like pure businessmen. We just had this business and marketing mind. So he hit me up one day, like, what you doing? And I'm like, I really ain't got nothing to do. I'm just chilling at the house, broke. He's like, you want to go to Florida? I'm shooting a music video. And his brother, Dwayne, was going to Full Sail. So he's a film student. So we went down, we shot this thing down at Full Sail. Full Sail's got like a whole set like you would see at Hollywood. So that was really cool. We're shooting with high-tech equipment and all of that. And I was in the music video. So I'm like, oh, this is something new. I'm not used to being in front of the camera. And on the way back, he was like, yo, you want to form a group? And I'm like, you want to rap together? He's like, yeah. I'm like, sure, I got nothing else better to do, right? So, to make a long story short, we became touring artists. I mean, we were performing for like, one time we did an arena of 30,000 people. It was just a monster truck show. It was called Monster Jam, and that was in Baltimore. We got kicked off that tour because we performed this an Obama song. And I told him we shouldn't perform it, but he wanted to perform it anyway. And we performed it. We got kicked off that tour. But we created the tour, and then we had another tour. Another tour was Hot Important Nights. And so we were doing that nationally, traveling. And, those shows would be probably like 1,000, maybe to 10,000, depending on the arena or the location. Average probably about 3,500 to 5,000 you'd see in the crowd. And that was just really fun. So we became super popular in our area, right? Like we selected one zip code, which was New Brunswick, New Jersey. We selected New Brunswick, New Jersey because it was a college town. So, to show you our grind, what we did was it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, rain, sleet, snow. It didn't matter. We put feet to pavement. We ordered 5,000 flyers, and we'd pass them out relentlessly. So the first week we went out, the bouncers were like, no, you can't come in the club. The 5th week, they were like, yo, you can come in the club. We were bringing book bags in. They weren't patting us down. Like I could have walked in there with an AK and they wouldn't have said anything. Well, maybe not an AK, but I could have walked in there with a handgun and nobody would have said anything. In fact, one time I was outside a club and the bouncer was a new bouncer and he wouldn't let us in. So we didn't sweat it. We were like, whatever, we'll just come back next week. And a local was like, yo, that's Demick in Boston. You got to let them in. They always out here grinding. They got the biggest grind out here. And he was like, word, all right, y'all can come in. And we're like, all right, cool, whatever. Like, I'm not sweating it. We've been in this club a million times. Everybody in this town. So we basically got like a crossroads. It's like one street and another street. So it's really easy to hit, it's like 2 miles total of walking. So that was like, that street grind. And then at the same time, I started that blog called Def Glam, and that became really popular. It was up to, I had a staff of 7. We had millions of hits. Because it was so popular, I got invited to like all the hip hop shows and all the, premier events in New York City because I was media. So I got all my contacts. And one day I wrote a story about 50 Cent's new energy drink. And his PR company reached out to me and said, we want to invite you out to the launch. And I was like, great, cool, I'll come. So then I hop on this bus and I was trying to be slick and sit in the front where I knew 50 would be. And his security comes and goes, get in the back. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I get in the back. I'm sitting here. Angela Yee's like catty corner to me, behind me. And then 50 Cent gets on the bus and, it's whatever. And the bus pulls off. And then we pull up at this corner stoplight. And I look over on my right, we're on a double-decker New York City bus. And I see all these people just standing around. And I'm like, these people don't realize 50 Cent is on this bus. So one mind is like, yo, jump up and say you on a bus with 50 Cent. And the other mind is like, no, you're going to get kicked off the bus. So eventually I defeat fear and I'm like, yeah, I'm on a bus with 50 Cent. And all these people look up, 50 waves, and they rush the bus. So after he's handing out the energy drink over the side of the bus pulls off, and his management team and PR team were like, throw me a shirt, throw me a hat, and move me to the front of the bus. So now I'm with 50 Cent, right? Like how I planned it. Make a long story short, I ended up getting hired as regional marketing director. I was in charge of all New York City, Connecticut and New Jersey. And then I did a lot of work with some of the national campaigns. And then after that, I moved into, that was CPG. Then I launched a brand with Carmelo Anthony, a coconut water with Carmelo Anthony. And then I'm like, seeing like mobile apps becoming like super popular and the app store is growing. And I'm like, yo, like, and I'm telling people, like I'm telling the team that I worked with 50 Cent, and I'm telling the Carmelo team, and I'm like, yo, we should move into the mobile app space and do something in the mobile app space. Everybody's just like, doesn't get it, right? So I'm like, whatever. So then I met with this one dude who used to be an ex-Mets player. I can't remember his name. He was launching a brand, and I was talking to his representative, and his rep wanted to do another CPG good, like some kind of sports drink. And I'm like, yo, why don't you guys do something in the mobile app space? And they were like, couldn't get it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to just go into this place. So I applied for this job. I didn't get the job. Usually, you know, I'm charismatic and intelligent. So usually I'm used to getting the job. And I realized that I just didn't understand where marketing was today as far as digital marketing is concerned. You know, he was asking me like, what does ASO mean? And, you know, what's UTM and all these acronyms I've never even heard of. But when I went home and looked them up, I'm like, oh, I know what this is. I just didn't know it by name. I wasn't that well studied. So I studied for like a year straight, then got back into the mobile app space. Fast forward, I worked with, you know, over a dozen, probably 20 plus companies in the mobile app space. Some of them through, I worked with a digital agency. I worked with probably 5 apps just within that digital agency. You know, so you figure all these years of marketing experience, right? Also, I was a mortgage broker, so I have sales experience. We used to cold call. Before the mortgage crisis hit, I was a branch manager. I was a branch manager at like the age of like 23 or something like that. It's unheard of, but I was just really good at my job. I just knew how to pre-qualify off the top of my head, pre-qualify people for loans off the top of my head, and then sell. So I have all this experience, sales and marketing. I've launched my own brand. I was a touring artist. I did the 50 thing. I did the Mellow thing. I did the mobile app thing. And I have all these, and I'm using Twitter, and I'm growing my brand on Twitter, right? Now, keep in mind, I rebranded on Twitter 3 times. First, it was me as an artist. Then it was me as an anonymous account. Then it was me in the Hotep realm. I went through a spiritual awakening. That's why I was anonymous for a little while. And while I was tweeting anonymous and sharing information that I was learning, people were like, yo, this is really interesting. Start a YouTube channel. And I think they were asking me that because I was anonymous and they didn't believe like I was who I said I was because, whatever. So I started my YouTube channel, and the YouTube channel became just a way for me to brain dump. Like, you know, how you have all these ideas in your mind and you're like, I've never shared these with people. Yeah. So I had all these ideas in my mind, and it was like a total of 20 videos. And at the end of the 20 videos, I was like, well, I've said everything I've ever wanted to say to the world, and I'm done, right? Then the Mike Brown thing hit, and Black Lives Matter came around, and I had to go back to my YouTube channel to expose Black Lives Matter for being the organization that it was. I had to expose Sean King for the fraud that he was. And so that was in 2015. You know, so that was my purpose of getting back into the YouTube thing. And then I tried the whole, report on news thing. And I'm like, it just doesn't feel organic. But in the meantime, my account's growing. It's growing. But I have all these rules in my head. They're swirling around my head. And I'm just like, I have to get these rules down on paper just to get them out of my mind because they're annoying, right? Like, do this, don't do that, and do this, and don't do that. But you might want to do this if this happens, like all these different scenarios. So I started the outline for the book. The other motivation for writing a book was the fact that I was still searching for jobs as a marketing director. And it became increasingly harder. A lot of it because I'm just a Black dude with dreads with no college degree. So it just looks crazy on the resume. So I was like, how do I, establish myself as an authority? And I thought, well, hey, I'm going to write a book on marketing. So that's why the book it's tailored to Twitter, but if you read it, you could use this in life. Like, you could use this in the corporate world, you could use this in school, but whatever type of brand organization you want to build, I just give you the fundamentals of how to build the brand. And then I just kind of cater it to Twitter. Like, this is how you do it on Twitter. But if you understand the fundamentals, they apply to anywhere. That's why you're noticing that. You know, so it became really hard to market a book like that because I catered it towards Twitter. But technically, I could rewrite that same book and say the Bible on marketing, and it'd be the same exact information, and more people will buy it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm telling people, like, look, buy the book. I know you don't want to use it for Twitter, but buy the book because it's not for Twitter. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. When I think about it, it's kind of like Hotep's Art of War.
Yes, it is.
And as I was reading through it, I was like, this has fuck all to do with Twitter. I was like, I'm gonna keep reading this. This is exactly because what I was trying to do, I try not to do things backwards, because there was one important thing I wanted to touch on. That's why I got psyched up earlier and knocked my headphones out, because there was the funny thing is one of the very first lines, one of the very first pages in the book. I don't know if the first time around I just overlooked it, or if I misread it and thought it said you were the manager to Daddy Boston. But I just completely did. And I said, wait a minute, rapper, let me find out. So I go all Kermit the Frog on YouTube, and there he is. And I'm like, okay, hold on. I'm gonna click on this. And I just lit up. And this was, so you did this song in 2011, I believe it was. The Winner.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to it, and I'm like, because you're not from Atlanta, right?
Nah.
But the song has that Atlanta vibe.
Yeah.
Because it reminds me of T.I.
Okay.
So I was a huge T.I. fan. When T.I. first dropped,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is great. And then he couldn't stay out of prison. He was just pissing me off. So how you keep going back to prison for the same shit? But and then go lecture me about how to live. Come on, man. And he was like the original Karen, you know. And so I'm listening to it. I'm like, man, this reminds me of like old school T.I. And I'm listening to it, and it just had like a smooth. It foreshadowed you. It foreshadowed who you are now.
Yeah.
It's
I
almost,
had to make this when I wrote the lyrics to make those words rhyme. I had to use a down south twang to make the words rhyme. Otherwise, they wouldn't have rhymed.
yeah, and even the music sounds like one of his older tracks. Not like a ripoff, but I mean it has that sound. It has that Atlanta hip hop flow to it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, man, this is really good. But
Dang.
Are you completely done with hip hop?
No.
Okay.
I mean, you can't get rid of it. Like once you're a rapper, you're always a rapper.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the thing is, I remember one time, two girls in my class had beef. So I wrote a poem about it. You know, I didn't understand rap and the cadence. So I used to write poetry, and I used to write poetry for my friends to pick up girls. And then I used to write poetry to girls. So I always had a thing for wanting to rhyme. And then when I got into hip hop, it just kind of carried over, you know, but I always had that talent for writing. You know, even my English teacher was like, you just have a talent for writing. You know? So it was just something I always had. But nowadays I could just be chilling and I got to kick a rhyme. You know, you see something and you kind of, because with rap, you can say things you can't say normally, and you can put them in a way where there's like 5 different meanings and it hits harder. So a lot of times when I write my tweets, people be like, yo, these tweets hit hard. I'm like, man, it's really a rap. I just tweeted. You know?
Yeah. It's weird because because you're turning 40, I just turned 41. Nice. And so we're around the same age. So around the same time, that's right. Yeah. And around the same time that was going on, and you alluded to this, if I picked it up correctly, I think the timing was off for that particular persona.
Yes.
So with me, I'm very open about my battles with depression and alcohol and things like that. And when I have an alter ego project called Dead Man Walker. So Dead Man Walker is basically the poster boy for manic depression, because a lot of people don't understand it. There's not a face put to it. People needed to see something. So when I came out, I didn't even realize I was trying to capitalize on the character, because I'm an actor. I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm not a musician. I just use the guitar to carry the tune. My gift is my voice. So I do these, brooding songs. I have some of them are bluesy, some of them are just drawn out, some of them are downright terrifying. And there's a screenplay I've written. I'm hoping to do a movie soon. He's, for all intents and purposes, without getting too deep into it, he's a vampire. He's been around since the 20s. So
like it.
It's really deep, but people didn't understand, because I'm from a small town, from a small hick town in North Carolina. People didn't understand why I had on a fedora, sunglasses, and I was dressed the way I was. And they didn't get it. And neither did I. I didn't flesh out the character enough. I didn't tell them. I didn't realize. I knew why I was doing it. I didn't know why I was doing it. I was channeling all these demons I've been fighting since I was 3 years old into my music. But the timing was off. I had to establish something else. And at this point, I had this joke that you're the Tupac of Twitter. And so, Tupac dies and comes back as Machiavelli.
Yeah.
And that, like Tupac was great out of the gate. So as soon as he came out of the gate, it's what it was. Now, and I say now, if Tupac was still around, he'd be Hotep Shakur. Somebody had asked somebody said the other day, would Tupac be a social justice warrior? No, because Tupac didn't come at things with feminine energy. Yeah. Absolutely not. He'd be Hotep Shakur. He'd be out here trying to fix things just like you guys are. Yeah. And but for me, it was the same time. It was 2011, and I said, you know what? I need to back off. I need to figure out, what do I do? Okay, I coach. Okay, well, I can do something with this. I've had all these things going on, and get out here, and I can get on Twitter, and it's good for content creators. Now I can start creating content. I'm getting a little bit better at writing copy and things like that. I'm learning it. I'm working on my website, because I originally, damn to the depths with whoever originally said that WordPress is easy. I got a book and followed along. And then when the shit hit and I had to move back, I probably walked away for like 2 weeks. I don't remember a damn thing. So I saw where you said you use Elementor. So that's what I'm looking at right now. Yeah. To design the website, use Elementor, because the drag and drop is for me. Yeah. But I'm keeping my blog on the blog that I write for. We also have a podcast that I co-host. So he said, look, you're not a blogger. And this is what I went through for 20 years of my life. I was chasing the things I wasn't good at, or I was chasing the things that it was just bad timing. And my music was bad timing and I tried to monetize it. When you try to monetize your hobbies, it can backfire on you. You start to hate it. Okay. I started to hate acting because I tried to monetize it. Actors audition. That's what your job is. Mm-hmm. And actors, that's something else they need to realize. Your job is not even to act. It's certainly not getting on TV and pretending like you care about a cause. Your job is to audition. You're in a constant job interview every single day, day in and day out. And you nail like 1 out of 100. And I got out of that because I hated it and I tried to monetize it. I don't hate music, but I started to. But the timing was off. Backed away. Now I can pick it back up again and start doing it again. Because if I emerge now, you're going to say, oh, okay, I know that guy. That's the guy on Twitter that had people like Hotep on his podcast. And he's a musician. I mean, he's a singer too, and he's a character. Like, what is this guy doing? But back then, I had small minds. I had small minds looking at my content, and the timing was just bad. So now with you, I think it's getting to be more towards that time, because you can reach so many people. Because you were speaking about this the other day. I don't know if you were talking with Wendy or you were just on one of your tirades by yourself, your live thing. But you had touched on that. What was it? So basically, without getting too deep into it, you got white people over here pulling, you got white people over here pulling, and so the rich white people got the black community into it. The rich white conservatives are trying to tell them, no, we're better, come join us. And they're trying to strong arm, and it's back and forth and whatnot. And the only thing that can fix the black community is strong black men, right, and the women who support them. Right. And the best way to reach, because it starts with young black men. Yeah. That's when the destruction starts. That's when the wound starts, especially if there's no father in his life. Right. And the best way to reach the black community, young black community, is through hip hop. That's what it used to be.
Yeah.
And somebody had wrote about this, before they were talking about NWA and when hip hop meant something. You had Curtis Blow, you had all the guys from New York, you had the guys. Then there were the feuds, but these were the rap battles that didn't end in bloodshed.
Yeah.
It was real legit rap battles, and everybody fist bump and went home.
Yeah.
And so now that you're doing the things that you're doing, I would love to see what you create musically now when you reemerge as Hotep Jesus, the rapper.
It's going to be insane.
It's that leaps and bounds.
It's going to be insane. And it's the more people talk about this with me, like I'm getting chills right now when you say it, because I rap now better than I used to because I understand the science of rap better, right? Like back then I was just rapping because my life depended on it, Now I had a chance, because my life doesn't depend on it, now I can like sit back and listen to the music and kind of just say, why is this song great? And why is this person a great rapper, right? So my delivery right now is 100 times better than it used to be. And I can add more personality to my music. Back then I was just writing to write dope lyrics. Today, I would be writing for a message, more like Winter. Like Winter had a message, right?
Yeah.
And that was probably one of my better tracks. But yeah, when I come back, it's going to be a music video. It's going to be hard hitting, and I'm coming for everybody's heads.
I made a joke the other day. I said, you know what? I wish I could rap because Jayson the Argonaut would be a badass rap name. And it's like, it doesn't even matter. It's like, he's white. Well, of course he's white. He calls himself fucking Argonaut. Yeah. But imagine if you come out, you're this jackballed white dude, and you're coming out and you're just rapping about God knows what. Because so you remember, you remember Kill Army?
Yes. That's the branch off of Wu-Tang.
Right.
Yeah.
Remember Holocaust? No. So the Holocaust was the rapper for Killer Army that enunciated his R's. All his R's were enunciated.
Okay.
He became War Cloud.
Okay.
He was like you. He changed names like 5 or 6 times.
Okay.
So he made this album. He was very esoteric. He was like it was like dark hood stuff.
Okay.
It was just so, and the lyrics made zero sense. So he had a song called Smuggling Booze in the Graveyard. And I think he had an album called The Last Floating Castle. And it was just this completely esoteric, way over there.
Abstract.
Yeah, it was just weird. And I was like, that's War Cloud. He sounds a lot like Holocaust. And if you ever listen to when Holocaust was with Killer Army, we talk about getting chills. That dude, as a matter of fact, he was just affiliated. So Killer Army was a branch off Wu-Tang. Holocaust was like a guest. So there were like 9 other people that rapped in Killer Army. There's only like 5 in Killer Army. Yeah. It was like 4 black guys and the Puerto Rican terrorist. That was it. And then they had these other guys that came in and would just do, they were just friends, like pals. And he branched off and then became War Cloud. And the stuff was, it looked like a 5-year-old drew it, but it looked like a 5-year-old with mental issues, like severe mental issues, drew it. Okay. With a crayon. But you should look it up and listen to it, because I mean, it's silly. Some of it's not entertaining at all. So I just can't listen to this anymore. But I would love to hear him and Eminem do a rap battle. It would just be and he would probably actually stump Eminem because it's just that out over there. Yeah, yeah. But I feel like that would almost be something you do, but it wouldn't be quite as abstract. Yeah, I when I first started rapping, it's actually a sad story, because initially I was like wanted to be rapping about like futuristic cars flying and aliens, right? And this was at the time when, rap music was all about like guns and drugs, right? So I'm like, nobody wants to hear some black kid rap about aliens and whatnot, right? I should have done that, right? But I followed behind everybody else and made like, thug music, because that's what I thought people wanted to hear. And then when we were a group, our music wasn't any of that. It was just like real life situations. Like one song we had was Miss Diddy, and it was about a real situation where we were at a game, and
I was trying to get this girl's attention. I think she had dropped something, and I just wanted to get her attention. She was really hot, but she had dropped something. I just wanted to get her attention, and she turned around. She goes, "I got a boyfriend," and I'm like, I wasn't even trying to get at you. Like, you dropped your phone. You know what I mean? But because she said that, I was like, all right, fine. I'll just let your phone sit there. Mm-hmm. And then she's like looking around for her phone, and then she turned around and looked at me. I'm like, it's right there on the ground. I tried to tell you that in the beginning. And then she looked at me. She felt like embarrassed. Mm-hmm. So then I was complaining to my homie about that. He was like, yo, we're going to turn to a song, damn it. And we called it Miss Sadiddy. Sadiddy's like this stuck up chick. So, you know, we were rapping about things we actually lived, you know, instead of trying to rap about things we weren't about. But, you know, if I were, or when I make my foray back into music, it's going to be very political. And everything I can't say on the internet, I'm going to say it in a rap song. And I'm going to be calling people out, man. It's going to be ugly, too. But it's going to be fun. But it's going to be fun, right? Yeah. It's going to be fun. It's going to be funny. Like, I don't want it to be like a hard diss track. I want it to be like, did he just say that? That's hilarious, right? Mm-hmm. I want it to be lighthearted, and I want it to be educational. But at the same time, I want it to sound good. But right now, my nephew, Highlight Vibe, is making music. My cousin, Gas God P, is out of Atlanta, and they're making music. So I don't want to make any music until I have enough money to fund their projects at a large level, you know, okay. And then have them help me make my music and make them a part of the project, because the music they put out is just way better than anything I would be able to do, you know. And my nephew, I was the first one to put my nephew on a record. I put him on a record with me. He was probably like 15 or something like that at the time. So I got him his real like start behind a mic and recording and hearing himself recorded on professional equipment. And my cousin Jordan, Gas God P, you know, his mom was a singer. So he was raised on singing. So he sounds like the Young Thug type rapper, you know, when he's out of Atlanta. So he's got a lot of like that type of influence. But his music, because he can actually sing, when he throws the auto-tune on it, it doesn't sound the same as somebody who can't sing trying to use auto-tune. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it just sounds like 10 times better, and they just make really good music. So, you know, my goal is to fully fund all their projects. I send my nephew money every month. You know, whatever's sitting in my Cash App that just came from wherever the fuck, you know, or whatever account I got. I'm like, yo, I got some money sitting. I'll just send you the balance from my Venmo, right? But I always send my nephew money because I just want him to keep going, and I don't want him to struggle. And I know that music is a very expensive hobby. It's not for the poor. But if you get popping, you can make a lot of money off of music, you know, a shit ton of money. You know, I mean, when we at the height of our career, we got paid for shows. There's not a lot of artists that could say they got paid for shows independent.
Right.
So, you know, I know what it takes to build a record label and to build an artist and to build interest. So I want to see them succeed first. And I stream their music all the time because it just sounds really good, and I believe in them. But once I get my first few millions, when I come back to music, it's gonna be ugly. And I'm not coming back to be like in a hip hop lane or rap lane or to be a part of music. I'm coming back just to make content that people can consume in a different manner. You know, so you said like a good way to get through to the Black communities through hip hop, and that's true. But there's something broader there. I forget, I want to say it was France, but there was a riot in one of these countries in Europe, probably like 1800s, I want to say. And they brought this lady out, and they brought her up to the steeple, and they had her sing because she had a beautiful voice. And when she started singing, the riots stopped, right? Yeah, I forget this story. This is years ago I read about this, and whoever recognizes the story would know the names and whatnot. But yeah, so it just speaks to the power of music. They did this with James Brown too. Black people were rioting, and they played James Brown. James Brown came and performed over the microphone and loudspeaker, and Black people stopped rioting because it was James Brown was on, right? So it just speaks to the power of music, you know, and the power of the jam, as Talib Kweli would say. You know, I met Talib Kweli. We're at odds now, but you know, when we were cool and we was to talk, he used to say, man, no matter what you do in this world, you could do the most wrong ever, put out a hot record and everybody forgets about it, you know? So it just speaks to the power of the jam, like you were saying.
Yeah, it's amazing because I think a lot of my problem the past couple of years was I just wasn't listening to music as much. I was watching more TV, crap like that. I hardly watch anything because I can't stand to look at celebrities. I just know what they're thinking because they're all thinking the same thing. And I had talked to somebody about it, earlier on Twitter, and they were like, yeah, I mean, you just gotta, I think I said a campaign I can get behind is, defunding all white celebrities so we can see where their loyalties actually lie. And yeah, I was like, yeah, just cut them off. Don't go to their shows. A lot of people, just don't do that thing. It's called a boycott, pretty much. And I said, yeah, man, that's pretty much what I've done. And now I can get more work done, and I can put my music on. I noticed now, like last night I was doing a little work. I put my music on, and it just helps out a lot. And it doesn't really matter because I listen to a lot of death metal. I mean, I can put on some death metal and go to sleep, whatever, or relax. Or I'll put on hip hop and work out. I can't listen to metal when I work out. I can't listen to hip hop driving. It's kind of weird. I listen to the wrong things at the wrong time. That's just how I evolved,
Yeah.
And I just don't get the same effect because you would think, I'm this albino white guy who lifts weights. You'd think metal, nope. It's got to be hip hop. It's got to be like early 2000s hip hop. That's what I was listening to last night, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
And it lights you up,
Oh yeah. I listen to the best album to listen to while you work out is Jesus by Kanye, because it's this blend of like rock and rap, right? And rock and rap are very much similar. They all operate off this average 90 beats per minute tempo. So they're very, similar in nature. But the thing is, when you work out, you kind of want something that's closer to 100 or 140 BPMs. And Yeezus, you get, some high tempo stuff, and the beats are just knocking, and you just can't help but to move, and it starts getting your blood rushing. So, working out without music is not the same as working out with the right album.
Exactly.
It's a completely different experience, man. You feel like you could just keep going, and the sweat's pouring. You don't get any fatigue. But without it, it's like the slightest thing you do, you get some fatigue.
Yeah. I train at Orange Theory because I got to the point where I just couldn't make myself work. I got weights. Like I live in a studio apartment. I got weights in my apartment. I don't want to walk over there and lift them because they're there. And you were actually talking to Wendy the other night. I think it was about the book you were reading about Thaddeus Russell, about work and that kind of stuff, and that really resonated with me. With me though, because it's not that I disagree. I'm just from a different stock. It's like I tried so hard to figure out how to work from home. I just wanted to work from home. As I'm getting my business established and started up, I'm thinking about I lay out my itinerary for the day and stuff, and I'm thinking, there's no way I can do this. There's literally no way I can work for myself part-time, make enough money. I'll go out of my mind. Like if there was a way to work 2 hours a day, love what I do, make $100,000 a year, I can't do it. I'm that person. I've become that person. I've become the guy who says, I tried retirement. I couldn't do it. I always said I'll take boredom over running myself into the ground any day. But the cool thing about it is that I'm unhireable outside of fitness. I'm absolutely unhireable. I mean, I've worked in engineering. I was a church janitor. I've done construction. I've done drywall. I've done all this kind of stuff, but nobody wants to hire me because on my resume is 15 years of fitness coaching. That's what I do.
Right. So what you're saying is you can't stay in the house, right?
Can't do it.
Right. You need to get out.
Yeah.
Right. I'm the complete opposite.
Yeah.
If I had to leave a house, it's a hassle. So I understand where you're coming from. It's just I'm on the other side, right? Where if I got to leave a house, it's just like, oh my God, are you serious? There's no way we can do this remote.
Right. I used to be that way. I legit used to be that way. I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to do anything. But it was also, this gave me a feeling of peace. I could sigh of relief. It's like, man, what I thought I wanted, I don't want after all. you know, and it's like these influencers that are driving around in Lambos, and like Grant Cardone was like, why you got a Lamborghini? He's like, I got a jet. If I want to go look at a piece of property 3 hours away, I get my jet. And like, what the fuck's your Lambo going to do? And a lot of these guys are just renting them anyway. I don't need a Lambo. I need 60 grand a year. You know how easy it is to make 60 grand a year? It's like the easiest thing. Anybody can do it. I got a GED. Anybody can do it. And that's where my road is headed, you know? But at the same time, I don't want to be out the house and working 14 hours a day out the house. I want to do my few hours here. I want to do my few hours out there. I want to do my side stuff like cutting down trees and mowing grass or whatever the hell I want to do, make a little side money, because I love the exchange of cash. I love doing sweat equity work and being handed cash. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm just, it's a barbaric thing, but I love it. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. But it almost gave me a complex. I'm like, nah, Hotep's telling me it works bad. Oh shit.
No, that's not work though. That's not work though.
No, it's not.
If you enjoy something, it's not work anymore,
Nope.
right?
That's right.
Some people think that you have to do something you don't enjoy 14 hours a day and, you know, it's work, you know, and I think there's a difference between, creating or staying occupied and not working, right? So if I'm home, like boredom is something that doesn't exist with me. I when people say they're bored, I'm like, how are you bored? It's just too much to do. But I can get bored really easily, right? So, you know, I'm reading 2 books at the same time right now. I'm studying chess and I'm studying code, and then I have like 3 businesses and I'm writing my book on America, right? So if I don't overflood myself with quote unquote work, you know, like the stuff I do would be work to the next person. But for me, it's like, if I'm not stimulating my brain, then I'll get depressed. Like, oh my God, like my life is being wasted away, right? Like I get like that. So I always have to keep my mind occupied. You know, for example, it's really hard for me to sit down and watch a movie. It's really hard for me to sit down and watch TV. You know, like a show has to be really good for me to sit down and be able to get through an entire episode. You know, like I saw everybody was watching Tiger King, right? And I knew about Tiger King before everybody because I was looking for something to watch with my girl. And I went on Twitter and I typed in, you know, Netflix recommendations, and I looked what people were talking about, and people were talking about this Tiger King thing. I got to like 2 episodes and I'm like, this isn't doing anything for me, right? Like it's funny and it's weird, but it's not like working my brain any, you know what I mean? And if I'm gonna watch something, like either it's gotta be an action movie where, you know, people are getting shot and dying, or or it's some sort of like detective work or legal type thing. Like 50 Cent has a new show out. Damn, I can't remember the name of it. It just
I know what you're talking about.
The legal one, right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and like I get sucked into that one because it has like this legal aspect to it, and I just find that to be rather motivating or mentally stimulating. And or it's got to be historical. Like I love historical dramas.
Yes.
You know, like I watched the Waco one. I watched the one about Bumpy Johnson. I love like old school 1920s gangster flicks, as long as they're based on, you know, some sort of facts or historical context is there. So, you know, I'll watch documentaries. But other than that, like I get bored really easily. I'm just like, I can't. And I'm sometimes I sit there and I watch people watch shows and I'm like, how are y'all like watching this? But I understand we're all built different, you know?
Right. So,
but again, what I do, other people would consider work. For me, it's pleasure, right? So we have to know that work is very much subjective. You know, I believe work is trying to earn an income doing something you don't enjoy. That is work.
Yeah.
And work is a sin.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I understand that this rule does not apply to 20 somethings, right? I mean, you're 20 something. Now you got to put your grunt work in. You got to get your apprenticeship in. You got to do a lot of things and try a lot of things to learn what you do like. Right. So you got to, that's why, like, you know, Scott Adams talks about my skill set. He says he has an interesting skill stack because I've tried any and everything. I've had mad jobs, bro, mad jobs. I've done everything, you know, So, that contributes to my skill stack too. But I think when you're under 25 and you're still trying to figure your way out, you might need to do some work. I remember one summer I worked for the Department of Public Works, and I was some shitty ass work. You're in the sun cutting grass or raking leaves or dropping mulch off at some house, and it was just, but there were some aspects to it that were fun, like riding around in a truck, at 20 miles an hour is just for some reason is fun. I don't know why, right?
It's the little things,
yeah. I think what it was riding in the truck was relief from doing work.
Damn right it is, man, because I did that shit too. Jesus Christ.
You're like, getting in the truck was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
And you're like, don't drive too fast because I ain't trying to get to the next site anytime soon.
Exactly. Yep. Every last thing you said has been through my brain because I've done it all too. I've tried all kinds of stuff. I've crawled under houses. I've crawled under churches. I mean, I've done a lot of stuff, man. And figuring out that I am unhireable except for the one job I love. Now there was one other job that I used to love. I used to work for Honeywell, and and what we did was we put together these fuel controls, and then we would put them in the back. So we did fuel controls for Boeing jets. And you run the fuel through it to make sure it's good. And if you didn't hook it up right, the fuel goes all everywhere and everybody laughs. And had to, it's just small parts assembly type stuff. And I don't know why, but I love this job. And I was a high producer. We had to do like 15 to 16 units a night, and I was up to like 30 units a night. I was working third shift. I fucking love this job. My favorite part of the night, I'm kind of a nerd, so I'm really into Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's my thing. I'm a geek at heart, and so I read the novels, Forgotten Realms novels, back when they were, really good, like the ones from the late '80s and the early '90s. And I was reading the Avatar trilogy about where the gods are pretty much dying and they're scattered all over the place and they're coming back down to Earth. Hence the Avatar trilogy, and everybody's magic is going awry. Because if you're not within a mile or 5 miles of your God, your magic you'll blow yourself up. Okay. I was reading these books, and my favorite part of the night was going out to my truck and putting on the classical music station, reading this book. Uh-huh. And whenever I have a bad day, I can sit down and think about the Honeywell parking lot and come back to that. But that was the only other job I ever did. I'm really good with small parts assembly. Uh-huh. You throw a computer at me, I'll put it together. You throw the parts at me, I'll put it together. Can't do WordPress. Write HTML, no problem. Can't do WordPress. I can write HTML, but I'm not going to because we have Elementor, we have Wix, we have GoDaddy, we have all this kind of stuff. It doesn't
even make sense to,
It doesn't make sense to, man. And that was another good thing about this book. If it wasn't for Dominate Twitter, I wouldn't have learned about Elementor. Yeah. I mean, if people don't get this book, even if you do just want to get clout on social media, fine, pick it up for that. Yeah. But it's really imperative that people get this because it can really help them out. I'm looking forward to this this second read through.
The most fascinating thing is reading tweets from what I like to call my grandchildren, right? Mm-hmm. So these are people who are learning from people who read my book.
Yeah.
Right. So, it's like the telephone game.
Mm-hmm.
It gets watered down when it gets to the next generation. So I'm seeing you're trying to do some of the things you taught, but you ain't got it from the source.
Right.
So whoever taught you needs to tell you to come back to the source to get it because they ain't explaining this to you in full, in totality.
It's so funny you said that, man, because the other day, I almost tweeted it. I said, you know what, Jayson, just you can still hand them the stick every once in a while. But, you stick to your masculinity stuff, your inspirational stuff and stuff like that. And it's funny you said that because I wanted to say something along the lines of some of y'all have read because there's Life, Math, Money, wrote a really good Twitter one. Ed Lattimore, his whole crackhead program is really good. Ed Lattimore is
Ed bought my book.
Yeah.
Ed,
he does that.
Ed is one of my children. Let me make fun of him. I hope he hears this. He's one of my kids.
He's on a really good frequency too.
He is.
And he'll because he doesn't tweet that often. When he does, it's gold.
Yeah.
And so he's got a good he put it out there for like, I don't know, it was a ridiculous price, but he'll go up and buy up these books. And he spoke how I remember him speaking highly of yours, obviously, but he buys these books up so that he can kind of tell people, you know, nah, not that one, not what to look out for.
Okay.
And I'm noticing that a lot of these people with like 27 followers or whatnot are buying these books, but it's not quite clicking. They're doing it. They're retweeting everything. They're retweeting everything. Like I'd see like same people just retweeting. Why are you retweeting everybody? There's a way to do it. You got to quote tweet it. You got to, it's good if you comment. It's good if you share, quote tweet, say something to it. I did that. That was one of the first things I learned in the Life, Math, Money book. And I started doing that and my follower count went up. And then I just got tired of doing it. I just got tired because you touch on this. Sometimes you got to go back through and delete some old tweets because if they didn't get enough engagement, you got to go ahead and get rid of them. And it's just hard to go through them. And I'd rather have, you know, practice one kick 10,000 times instead of 10,000 kicks once. But yeah, I noticed that. It's funny you said that because I'm seeing it, man, and people just aren't doing it right, and it's cringe. It's so cringe.
It's the difference between understanding a subject theoretically versus understanding it because you have the experience, right? Like a lot of these people are publishing works based upon theory. Mm-hmm. Nah, I like even if somebody comes out and says, like, for example, I'm about to get on at Lattimore. I love him. Great dude. But the other day he said marketing is promotion. And that's wrong, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a misconception. It's a common misconception that marketing is promotion. No, promotion is an aspect of marketing. Promotion is one of the 4 P's of marketing. But marketing is wholly about the product itself. You see, when you got a good product, you ain't got to promote it. Other people promote it for you, right?
That's right.
That is marketing. Marketing is the product. Everything afterwards is advertising and promotion. You know what I mean? And that's why I say a lot of people are publishing books on marketing. And I'm like, that's cool. Like, you know, do your thing, but just understand, you understand this thing from theory. You don't understand it like I understand it because I've been doing this since 1996. Right. So, and I've been doing it from AOL to ICQ to MIRC to Black Planet to MySpace to Twitter. So no matter what platform you give me, I've adapted to them. You know what I mean? And then even Instagram, like my account grows. I don't even post on Instagram, my account grows, right? It's just like, I got like 2,000 last month just from being me, right? Mm-hmm. But that's because you have to understand the fundamentals of what marketing is and how you create a better product. And I am the product. When you're a public figure, you are the product. So how do you create a better product if you are the product? Well, you got to study your ass off. You got to experiment your ass off. And that's what I do. I do a lot of experimentation. I do a lot of testing and I study my ass off. And that's why people are like, what don't you know? I'm like, there's a lot I don't know. It's just that I only speak when I know something. So it looks like I know everything. Whereas a lot of people, they'll talk about something that they understand theoretically. And I don't talk about things I understand theoretically. I refuse to. If I don't know for certain that I'll destroy you in a debate on a topic, I just won't talk about it.
Right.
I'd rather sit back and just continue to learn until I get to that point where I'll destroy you, right? Yeah. So a lot of people, they talk about socialism and communism, right? And I'll be honest, I fell into the trap of talking about it in a negative light without understanding it. And I said, and I caught myself. I was like, dude, do you understand what you just said in this tweet? And that's what I asked myself. And I'm like, nah, I don't understand this. So I went back and did the studies. I said, well, I was very humble about it. I asked my followers, I said, what do I need to study to understand socialism and communism, right? So they start recommending books. So they recommend Alexander Solzhenitsyn. One follower said you have to study the Russian Revolution. So I grabbed books on the Russian Revolution. I watched the documentaries. I watched the Trotsky drama on Netflix, which I'm sure is full of crap, but a lot of it still adds context that you didn't have before and kind of gives you visuals for things and kind of helps the information stay, you know? So And then I went and studied Rothbard, and I studied free market guy. I keep forgetting his name. He wears glasses. Jewish guy, man. Intellectual, economic intellectual who promotes free market capitalism. And he has a documentary, and I watched his documentary, and I just wanted to understand economics. Then I went out and I bought Thomas Sowell's book, Basic Economics, and I read that, right? Then I come back to Twitter. Now I'm talking about socialism. I'm like, I dare you to have this conversation with me because I just put in a year in a virtual university. So now, so I'm to the point now where understanding socialism and communism that I can take on the pro-socialist and communist standpoint, and you still can't defeat me in a battle because I understand the nuances of when it makes sense to be a socialist, when it makes sense to be a communist, and the different types of socialists. Because you have some socialists that actually are good in nature, and then you have some socialists who just want centralization of power, right? I read Karl Marx's 10 Planks, the manifesto. I read that, right? And I started working on Das Kapital. It's reading Das Kapital, you kind of see that Marx is an idiot, which is why I couldn't hold my attention. But Marx is faking intellectualism. And you could tell that somebody else is passing him this information, right? Like Engels is passing him information. There's actually a secret cabal that was passing him his information, right? So it couldn't hold my interest because I'm like, I just want to go to the source because you obviously ain't the source. You know, so, and that's why I'm like, you know, before I talk about something, I'm gonna put myself in a 1-year university on my own. So when I talk about this, I'm not just spouting something that I saw on Twitter. And that's what a lot of people do. You know, they go, oh, Orwell. And I'm like, okay, have you ever read Orwell's work? What do you know about Orwell? And then some people will say, yeah, you're talking about Orwell. Did you know he was a socialist? I'm like, well, technically he was a Fabian socialist. So yes, I do know he's a socialist. Do you know about the Fabian Socialist Society? Do you know what he said about the Fabian Socialists? Did you read the end of 1984? Did you understand what he said at 1984? I'm talking about after the story is over. Did you read Animal Farm? It's a quick read, but did you read it? Did you understand? Did you understand how that applies in the real world? You know what I mean? So I'm not one of these guys that go, oh, we're Orwellian, and I ain't read the work. I read, and you know, Orwell has another. I mean, he's got plenty of speeches and writings, right? But and I don't want to take time to look it up here, but you know, I got it in my phone, I got it in my library, and I read more than 1984. I read more than Animal Farm. I listened to his lectures on YouTube. So I understand Orwell better than a lot of people do. You know, I'm not just one of these guys just saying, oh, Big Brother's watching this Orwell. I'm like, you're just saying that because you saw it on YouTube, or I mean, you saw it on Twitter, right? And that's what we see a lot of from these fake gurus is it's all theoretical and not enough study. You know, I never feel comfortable selling something that I can't argue and debate both sides. Like I said, I can argue for communism and socialism.
Yeah.
And I can show you when it's good. Nassim Taleb had a great quote, which I understood before he said it. I'm like, yo, I'm a communist with the homies, but I'm a capitalist with everybody else. And then, you know, Nassim Taleb, he says, I'm a communist with my family. I'm a socialist with my community. I'm a Democrat with this. And, you know, he goes up the levels and he says, with the government, I'm a capitalist or something like that, right? So when people start using these terms, they don't understand the nuances of these terms, right? And that's why I say when we talk about marketing, I'm like, y'all understand Twitter marketing, but you don't understand marketing, period. That's why when you read Dominate Twitter, you can use it for any platform because I understand marketing because I had a record label. I had a blog that did millions of hits. I didn't work for, as a salesman for Cheesecake Factory selling food and alcohol, and I worked selling, loans, right? I'm 20 something years old, and I'm selling loans to grown folks, and all the people around me are grown folks. So I was able to mature a lot faster than other people because all of my mentors were like 40-year-old men that were married. So they took me under the wing. These are black guys. They took me under the wing, and they, they kind of grew me in many good and bad ways, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, I have all this real life experience about marketing and sales where it's like, y'all talking about cold calling. You ever banged out 1,000 calls in a week? Nah, you haven't. You ever sat next to a Wall Street broker and raced them to see who's going to get the first loan or the first fish on the line? You ain't never did that before. So don't come here talking to me about cold calling. You ain't never knocked door to door to sell somebody a product they already had, right?
Mm-hmm.
I went and knocked door to door and sold AT&T and try to lower people's bills, right? And so I you know, when we in restaurant business, I know the restaurant business like the back of my hand because I didn't work for, you know, you name it. I worked for damn near all the chains, you know. But I have all this real experience. So when I say I know something, it's part of my DNA. So when I explain to somebody, I can explain it to where a 5-year-old can understand it, which is why I think I'm one of the best teachers on Twitter, because you notice my style is different from, you know, the Ed Lattimore style, right? Like Ed Lattimore is more of like platitudes, right? My style ain't platitudes. You know, I'm teaching by you watching me. You watch me, and if you can read between the lines, you'll get what's going on here.
That's right.
But if you're not intelligent, you won't be able to read between the lines, and you'll miss the whole entire lesson, right?
That's right.
And I do it on purpose because when you dumb it down to platitudes, it makes it so easy for anybody to get, and then they water it down and they ruin it. They saturate markets, and it becomes hard to separate the sharks from the fish for the normal person. Like, do I get this book or do I get that book? Because we lowered the bar so much that anybody who has any minute amount of theory can become a guru, right? That's why I don't take that style. No, if you're going to learn from me, you're going to learn by watching. And if you can cut your ego off for a half a second, you'll pick up a lot from watching me.
Absolutely. And yeah. And they all use the same format. They all get up there and say, hey, I'm letting go of my course for this, 14 left, 13 left, 12 left. All this kind of shit. And
it works. It's a sales tactic.
It does. It works. It's a very good quote unquote sales funnel. It's annoying as hell, but it works. And that's what they want, you know? Yeah. And the thing was, I just had to get recertified because I'm starting my own business. I need liability insurance and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, speaking of experience, I mean, I've been doing this 15 years, and a guy with type 2 diabetes who weighs 400 pounds can go online right now and get a personal trainer certification. Planet Fitness has them for you. They're free. A free trainer. This is somebody you're literally putting your body and your life in their hands, and they're free. Yeah. It's like negates everything I've done. So, you know, if I'm gonna get up there and like, I don't get a whole lot into the whole food debate with people. But if it comes to training, you know, that's what I do. And I don't speak on, I'm like you, I don't speak on things I don't know about. If I need to learn it, I'll go learn it. There's some things I don't want to learn. And another good thing about that tactic as well is you need to know your enemy. So if you're dealing with your enemy, there's nothing stopping me from right now going out, buying Michelle Obama's book and learning something. Right. Even if I have read books that were phenomenal. I mean, like, you may have a person who reads 48 Laws of Power and they say, I didn't get anything out of that book, but it said this one thing where I don't agree with all laws. I don't, I maybe do, I don't know, maybe 24, 25 of them. I don't know. Yeah. But later on in life, it might apply. You may come back to the book and realize, well, this is when I need it now. It's like the whole rap persona and the dead man persona all over again. It's just the timing wasn't right. But you're either going to learn your enemy or you're going to learn something from your enemy. If I can learn bare minimum from a book I enjoy, I can learn a whole lot possibly from a book that I probably shouldn't have any business reading in the first place.
Yeah, I remember I bought a course from a fellow marketer, and it was, I don't know, $1,000, $15, something like that. And from the outside, I knew about 60% of the information in there. After purchasing the course, I realized I knew 90% of the information in there. But they recommended one book, right? And I put that book in my book, Dominate Twitter, so I won't mention it here. And for the people who pick up on that gem, congratulations. But that one book transformed my life, right? And like I said, I didn't get much from this course, but that one book took me down a whole new path in my life that I had no idea would have existed had I not spent $1,000 for the course. And the book was on Amazon for like $20. So I paid $1,000+ to find out about this $20 book, which gave me an advantage over everybody. So some people tweeted and they said, the things that people are doing online now, as far as like selling their course and email marketing, they're like, yo, Hotep Jesus was doing this like 5 years ago, right? And it's because I bought this course and I found this book and I started taking things I know and putting them together. And so I can't say I was a pioneer because I'm not. Like Ty Lopez has been doing this stuff, you know, forever, right?
Yeah.
And I don't do it at the scale he does it. But the way I do it, the organic approach I bring to things is a lot different. You know, I do no paid advertising. So, you know, and I just wanted to, I don't do paid advertising because I always want to know what makes a brand work organically. Because then after paid just scales up, right? So I'll be working on some paid campaigns soon coming up, making some content to do some paid campaigns. But, you know, for the most part, you know, it's about really understanding the material, but being willing to pay for information, right? Like some people say, oh, you guys are selling courses. Who's buying courses? And I'm like, I get where you're coming from, right? Like, I get it. There's a lot of shim-shammy courses out here. But you might pay $50, $100, $500, $1,000 for a course. But a lot of times it's that one little piece of information that makes it so much worth it, bro.
Yeah.
You talk about that.
Yeah. And speaking on that marketing front, because I got a lot of friends, a lot of compadres, associates and whatnot, who don't understand how paramount marketing is. And, you know, like you said before, people kind of misspeak about what marketing really is. And, you know, they don't know the 4 Ps and they don't know all that kind of stuff. So, you know, outside of Dominate Twitter, which of course is going to be recommended by both of us, what would you think would be if somebody's in a catch-22, all right? So they don't know what they're doing, know nothing about marketing. And on the same side, they can't afford to outsource it and they can't afford, you know, to pay a mentor $3,000 for 8 weeks of training or anything like that. Knowing what you know now, if you could tell somebody the best way to just go out there and start learning marketing the best way possible, what would you recommend for them?
To start, you know, come up with, you know, a name for the business and just start, you know, like the best education is self-education, right? And just, you know, like I got a friend, he does the same thing. He's a physical trainer and he wants to become a physical trainer and he wants to get certified and he wants to build his online profile. And I'm like, well, you know, are you creating content? He like, yeah, I got some content. He shows it to me. And it's like 10 times better quality than anything I've ever put out under the Hotep Jesus brand, right? Yeah, I mean, crystal clear. He went out and bought a camera. He's editing. And you know my videos, I don't do no editing. I ain't got no time for editing, right?
No.
I ain't got no time for that.
Bradbury, what's up? John, what's up? Oh, wait. Wagman 24, what's up? Up in the house. Hotep. Plastic bag, what's up? Dorito man.
Yeah.
In and out.
Yeah,
I ain't got time for that.
I ain't got time because I understand what really makes a difference, right?
Yeah.
And all that editing stuff makes a little bit of difference, but it ain't really what makes people connect, right?
No.
So I'm like, I ain't got time to waste on that. But his stuff is coming out extra clean. I'm like, bro, your content looks better than mine. Have you put this out yet? Nah. Why not? Well, you think I should? I'm like, oh my God, yo.
I know, man.
Just put the damn thing out, bro. You know, and my other homie, he just started the podcast. He's not like that at all. He's not scary at all. But he's like, yo, bro, like, we just did this, I was the first guest. We did a debate on Black Lives Matter. Great podcast. And he's a brilliant dude. He's perfect for podcasts, and he's got the gift of gab. And he's like, yo, this first podcast didn't come out. Audio is kind of, man, put it out, bro.
Right.
Put that thing out. It was episode 1. I'm like, you should see what Hotep's been told you looked like episode 1, right?
Right.
It was just really crappy. And I think that's what people don't understand is just start.
Yeah.
You're going to have to get better over time. No matter what company you look at, they get better over time. At one point, Facebook wasn't even called Facebook. It was called like The Book or something like that, it was called The Facebook. And then Jayson Timberlake's character, the guy that created Napster, I always forget his name. He said, drop the and just make it Facebook, right?
Right.
And then it goes from just college students to the world. And now it's a company that has information on everybody, right? So there's going to be an evolution of whatever you start anyway. So just start. Everybody tries to come out the gate perfect. But 2 books I recommend that should be quite inexpensive are Contagious and Purple Cow. If you don't read those, then you'll never understand marketing. I think those are 2 books that Purple Cow is going to teach you the fundamentals, a lot of fundamentals of understanding the growth of a business and kind of like how to stand out. Contagious is a book that is full of just case studies and stories of businesses that were able to stand out. Like one of them is about a restaurant in New York City that is hidden, is not advertised, and is basically like a private club, but it's a restaurant. And in order to know about it, somebody got to tell you about it. Yeah. But it's super popular and super expensive. And they tell you like what makes this thing contagious. So it's a bunch of stories about what makes brands contagious. My book is more like, it's a quick starter guide, right? I'm going to take the fundamentals of marketing and I'm going to dumb them all down. I'm going to show you the funny thing about my book is that I hate about it, and I regret putting it out in the format that I wrote it in. I should have, like you said, there's no fluff, right? I should have put some fluff in there because it's just too good, right? I have a woman who she knew somebody was close to me and got a free copy of my book because she knew that person was close to me. So I gave him the copy. The next year, the next month, she launched her own marketing agency. Yeah. This is somebody who got no experience in marketing, but after they read my book, felt like they had enough knowledge to start a marketing agency. And the truth is, she's kind of right. Like, after you read my book, yeah, this is like the fundamentals of how to start a marketing agency. I give you everything you need to know to start a brand and to grow the brand. Now, there's some things about scaling the brand that aren't in my book, right? That, it's probably a second book, Scaling Your Brand, right? Which is a lot more advanced. But people feel empowered that they can go and sell services after reading my book. And I hate that. But at the same time, it's just like, dude, you wrote a good book and it's so good that people feel like they can now teach marketing.
Yeah, you probably want to get testimonials together of people who went from absolutely nothing to marketing businesses and throw them testimonials up there and bump that price up a little bit.
Well, my book used to be 100. And right now it's at 50.
Is it 50? Oh, when
you bought
I got it. I got it when I was 27, I think.
Yeah, you got it.
Because I didn't know about it. Yeah, I didn't know about it, and you posted about it.
Well,
that's when I got it.
It was on a scale, right? It started out at $9, then it went to 19, then it went to 27, and it went to 35, then it went to 50, and it went all the way up to like, at one point I want to say it was like $125, and it came with a lot of perks. And then today it's just at a $50 price. Whether you buy it on Amazon or not, it's definitely an expensive buy. Because I don't want it to be available to just any old fool. I want somebody who understands that I'm buying this book to invest in myself, and it's a great investment. Yeah. So it is a bit pricey now. You probably got in on a low price. So congratulations on that. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I would recommend. Those two books. Contagious is and Purple Cow. Just really great books.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that about get out there and go, because a lot of people they just read every book. I need another book, and I need another YouTube video. I need this, and the problem that you get into is with both books, and that's why I wanted to ask you, because you know these things. You've worked in it. It's you got half your life marketing, and the problem, I used to get so mad at books and YouTube videos, but the YouTube videos and the books, they follow the correct format, but there's one thing that none of these books and videos tell you, none of these gurus tell you, is that you need an idea. So you're getting all this inspirational crap and this believe in yourself, and you need to put this out there and do this and do that, but what am I supposed to do? Well, that's the one thing that everybody's trying to Google. How do I start my own business? Well, you need an idea. All the other stuff falls into place. And then what you do is you get out there and you work. And if you got to get a side hustle cutting down trees or whatever, like I do, then you do that until you make up enough capital to get a mentor to handle the logistics of it. Because if you're just out there Googling, how do I start my own business, and you don't even know what your skill set is, the answer is no, you can't. So that's one of the big things that I tell people. Is like, you got to get out there and fuck up, because I never learned a damn thing by winning. I've never learned by winning at all. Participation trophies, just never learned anything.
You mentioned case studies. I got a guy by the name of Coach Joe Hart. You may have seen him around.
Yep.
He's out of all the people that read my book, he was the first person to contact me and reach out to me via DM and asked to speak to me. He drove out, took me out to lunch just to pick my brain. Joe makes like $10,000 a month right now off of Twitter.
And that's crazy, because you know how much he makes off this flipping.
And that's on the low end, right? Like today he's probably making $20K.
Right. Yeah.
And that starts from, I think, my book, and there's another person, another person's book, Life, Math, Money, I think he learned from too. Yeah. So between the two of us, he's been really killing it.
Yeah, those were the top two. I think I got Ed's last. Ed's really good. Ed's book, you have to really, I read everything in a day, and it's too much. You can read Dominate Twitter in a day. Because it's an easy read. Ed's not easy read, because it's based on crackhead philosophy. So that's his thing. Yeah. So you got to really, which I know a little something about that, because this is exactly the kind of area I grew up in. And but with yours, it's an entertaining read. With Life, Math, Money, it's very informed. It's very direct. It's this, you need to do this every day. You do this 5 times a day, and this 3 times a day. And the next time when you get to this number, it's going to jump up. You're going to do this 12 times a day, and then 15. And it's very direct. So if you want a quick start, you do that. If you really want to, gain a lot of clout and really grow your following, I would say, get Ed Lattimore's book too as well. But if you just want to dominate life, I mean, this is the one. This is why I'm going through my second read through. It won't be my last read through, because I know I'm gonna keep picking up stuff off of it.
Well, when I write, like you said, there's no fluff, right? So every single sentence I write has purpose. So they're really concise, and that's why I say, if you read my book, the one time you missed a lot, right? You missed a whole lot, because we tend to just read words, right? I know there's one girl who she was creating these videos, and the videos are going viral, and she probably had 1/10 of my account, and her videos are going more viral than mine. So she hit me up one day. I saw it. I used to retweet her videos because they were just really great. And then one time, she came to me and she's like, "Yo, my friend's been asking me how I keep going viral." And I said, "Well, what'd you tell him?" And she was like, "Well, I told him I read your book about 4 to 5 times." And I'm like, "Oh, wow. I don't know what I put in that book, but it must be good." But the fact of the matter is, she was going viral with 1/10 of the amount of followers I had, using my techniques, and she was going viral. But because she read it 4 or 5 times, like, it's different from when you read something as opposed to when you study something, right? Like, when I read certain books, I don't read them, I study them, right? So reading, you can zip through a book, right? it's different when you study a book, right? So, like you mentioned, 48 Laws of Power. My copy of 48 Laws of Power was given to me by a friend. I still owe him a copy. I'm a scumbag friend for not buying him a new copy because I used to travel with the book and I read it literally 4 or 5 times. Definitely 4, probably stopped on my 5th time. Mostly because it broke. The book is in 2 pieces, right? So I technically can't even like enjoy to read it anymore. But it's because I was studying the book, you know? And a lot of times we'll read a piece of material and our mind will wander. At least I know mine does. So I'll read something and my mind will wander and we'll continue reading and you'll think like, wait, I don't even know what I just read because my mind was somewhere else. So I'm the type of person where I can catch myself now and I'll stop and pause and I'll allow myself to think about what I'm thinking about as I read that sentence. So it'll be something that's thought-provoking. I'll stop and I'll be like, oh, okay. And I'll just start playing with it in my mind and dissecting it. And then once that thought's over, now I can concentrate on reading. So, you know, I'm reading Thaddeus Russell's book. I could read that book in probably 2 days. It's 300 plus page read. I can read it, but I got to stop and highlight and, you know, and I got to stop and cross-reference and look up some of the definitions of some words because he's got a really great vocabulary. He's a college professor. But I don't read to read. I read to study. Contagious is a book you can read to read. Purple Cow is a book you can read to read. There's some aspects like the charts and all of that you kind of got to study to understand the growth cycle of a business. But for the most part, like those books you can just read. There's another one. I can't remember the name. The Misfit Economy. That's a book you can just read. There's nothing really in there to study, but it's just a bunch of stories about people who break the law or break the rules, or pirate software, and you know how they get their things off the ground. That was a quick read for me. I think it's like 200 plus page book, and I finished that probably in like a couple of days or so, a couple of sittings. But you got to understand the difference between what book you can read and what book you can study. You know, and I think the book I wrote, you can read, like you said. Like I write so people can read. Like it's an easy read. So I write like below a 10th grade level, right? I can write higher, but if you want somebody to understand the material, it's better to dumb it down. So I dumb it down, and it's an easy read. But if you study it, you'd be like, wait, I missed this the first time.
Yeah. Did you see that thing they put out not too long ago about how presidents always speak at a
5th grade level,
like a 5th grade level, except for Bill Clinton, who spoke at a 9th grade level.
Right.
and it was, you kind of go back and I don't know. I'm not sure what Trump speaks on, but it's hysterical.
He speaks at a 5th grade level.
Yeah, it's hysterical. He's in the.
That's why he won.
Exactly. And but I read that and I thought, you know what, this is why I get it, and a lot of times why I can't watch like press conferences and stuff like that because I can't deal with it. Maybe because I used to make fun of myself and say I read on a 5th grade level, but it's like you said, your mind wanders. Yeah,
I can't watch politicians talk, right?
No.
I need somebody to dumb it down for me because it's just, first of all, the only reason why I'm listening is so I can update people during my podcast, right? Like I technically don't have an interest because I know everything they're telling me is bullshit, right? So my attention span won't allow me to listen. Now, if this is, coding or something that I'm like interested in learning, I can sit there and watch a Python lecture 2 hours straight and not miss a beat, right? And you use the biggest words in the world and I won't miss a beat. Put me in front of like a politician or an attorney, I'm just like, oh my God, like, would you just get to the point, bro? You're like, because they purposely use certain verbiage to cloud what they're really trying to say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where Trump's like, yo, build the wall, right? Where somebody else would say, we need to reiterate the policy on immigration, right? or we need to take another look over our immigration policy. It's like, just say you want to build a wall, bro. Right. And I ain't got time for you to be playing and mincing all these words, bro. And that's the the trick that's been had to America is we allow people to talk to us above a certain grade level. And I think it's a very rude thing to do, is to talk to people above a certain grade level, unless the word is necessary to explain something that would just take too long to explain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand that, but when you're talking to a public and you're talking about foreign policy and we're talking about monetary policy, they purposely create a whole new language that we can't follow so they can do dirt.
Right.
And that's the trick, man. So I there's one attorney, I forget I'm subscribed to, but he takes all the cases that happen in the news media and he dumbs it down so you can understand. So I watch his videos whenever like the Flynn case happened.
Yeah.
Instead of me sitting there watching 3 hours of hearings, I watch a 15-minute video from this guy and I get everything I need. He goes in and he shows me what part of the bill I need to be paying attention to, because I simply don't have time to sit there and try and learn legal language about something I really don't even care about.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Because you gotta be prepared. You're coming into it to be prepared.
And the thing is, there's really nothing in politics for people, right? There's nothing in politics that's going to save us. The only thing that's going to save us is power. And the only thing that's power is money. So if you ain't getting money and you're not controlling technology, like I'm in tech, right? So I feel like who got the power? The tech companies.
That's right.
Or the banks or the attorneys. So it's like, if you're not in STEM, law, or finance, and you're following behind these politicians, oh, you're food, you're fish. Right, your food. You're not going to gain any power because this political system is designed for a certain class of people to have power. And if you ain't in that class, you ain't gonna have no power, no matter what that policy is. If you're not in a certain class, you won't even understand that policy. And as I say, you have to, before you deal in politics, you have to first increase what class you're in. And if you're not involved in technology, you sure as hell better be involved in making some money or writing the laws.
Yeah.
Like people, they follow behind politics and I'm like, read this bill and tell me what it means. It's 500 pages. Get back to me and decipher that bill. And they're like, oh. So you're going to sit there and you're going to wait for this politician to tell you what's in this bill. And he's going to omit all the important parts of this bill. And you're not trained in how to read these policies. Like personally, I know how to read legal. I taught myself how to read legal, but I won't do it because it's a waste of my time. I'm too busy trying to build a Silicon Valley in New York. You know what I mean? And I feel that's more important and that takes precedent.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things, why I don't get deeply involved. I'll get involved in the things that because there's an entire group of us. Some of the men are fathers. Some of the men are like me, are just single. We ain't got a family to worry about, but we're out there. We're trying to help guys who have either lost their way or just haven't quite found it yet. And so in the political structure, we're seeing a lacking of masculinity. On the male side, we're seeing females trying to masculate themselves, and everybody's energy is just wrong. So you got women trying to use false logic, and you got men trying to use emotion, and everything is just it just becomes nothing but bad energy. And so I don't get the reason why I got off Facebook is because I watched from the time Trump first opened his mouth about running until the time I got off Facebook. I watched the same people get up in the morning, post about Trump, go do their work day for 4 hours, pissed off, angry as hell, couldn't wait to get to lunchtime. Lunchtime comes around, 12:02, posting about Trump. Couldn't even eat the damn sandwich first, post about Trump. Go right back to work. These are the same people that hate Monday, okay? Back to what we were saying earlier. You don't need a job, you need an income. You need something you enjoy. Your days should run together. You should know what day it is. It doesn't matter what day it is. Even a lot of people who like their jobs go to sleep on Sunday night thinking, God, I don't want to go to work tomorrow, even if they love the job. But down the rabbit hole. And then they would go, and then they couldn't wait, and they were driving home. They're probably texting while they're driving home. They had to get one more tweet in before dinner. After dinner, they post about Trump again. Yeah. And at the end, I got off in January or February. I got shadow banned anyway because I used to do boudoir photos. Okay. And they shut me down. Wow. And over something stupid. They said one of my poses was too sexy. Uh-huh. Yeah. When the other pose was more sexy, they said it was the way I was posed. So I was actually more sexual than the other one, but I wasn't posed sexual. So they shut me down. After that, I said, you know what? I don't even want to be on this shit anymore because this is not for artists, you know? And by the time I got off Facebook, the same people were still doing the same thing, and ain't nary one of them been more successful. They're still the same job. They're still spending 23 of their 24 hours every single day hating the same person. And I can't for the life of me imagine that. And I refuse to get that involved in politics because, like me, I was guilty. So I was guilty when Candace Owens switched sides. I was like, hey, this chick's cool. Because I was staunch conservative. Mm-hmm. Conservative to me meant leave me the fuck alone. That's what conservative means to me. Mm-hmm. So I am a life conservative. Couldn't care less about politics. Don't force anything on me. Mm-hmm. I don't want white people forced on me. I don't want anybody forced on me. Mm-hmm. I don't want your dog. I don't want anything forced on me. Mm-hmm. So, Candace Owens comes out and she starts saying these intelligent things. And then all of a sudden, she's doing the opposite of what the left is doing. You got white people on the left pandering to black people. Now you got black conservatives pandering to white people. And it just becomes this ding-a-ling fight again. Mm-hmm. I see Brian standing there saying, let's have a ding-a-ling fight. And here they are. That's what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And I can't for the life of me get involved in it. But kind of like you, if I can get enough info to say what I gotta say. That's why I tweeted the other night. Before you lunatics get on Twitter and say the thing about Orwell or Marx or what about Candace Owens or whatever, let the Hoteps investigate and get back to you. And you won't even have to tweet at all. You won't have to say anything. You can just let them say it and you'll go, oh, fuck, I'm glad I didn't tweet about that. And and catch this block.
Yeah. People say like, it's like, Dan, you changed my mind about that. Or you changed my mind. Oh, I didn't think about that. And I'm like, did you take a second to think? Right. And like, that's what I do. Like a lot of these stories hit, right? Like the Bubba Wallace story hit recently, right? And when it first hit, we have a private group. So in the private group, I put, is this real or is this a hoax? But I didn't do it on Twitter because I don't feel everything needs my opinion, right? So some girl goes, when I finally did talk about it, she was like, Hotep Jesus is trying to milk this topic. He doesn't think this is a hoax. So I'm like, you thought you got me, but really that was the first thing I had. And I screenshot us in the private message, which is dated and timestamped. I'm like, look, no, I'm simply looking at all sides of this thing and I'm trying to draw the facts out. And I have my followers help draw the facts out. So I pose questions. And a lot of times people who are stuck in their ways see my questions as statements. And they're like, why do you think this? I'm like, yo, I asked a question. You don't see the question mark at the end there? That was it was a question to get you thinking and for me to get information from others. But there are a lot of people that do what you say. They're like, yo, have the Hoteps weighed in on this yet? Because I ain't saying nothing till they weigh in on this, right? And I think it's just because I have an interesting way of looking at things. I'm a Libra. I'm only child. My dad used to give me all types of weird puzzles. So I'm a think out the box type of dude naturally. So, I have a funny way of looking at things and I don't look at things through emotions. And I think it's even easier when you don't care about a topic, right? The problem is some people care about these topics. I don't give a shit about any of these topics, which is why I can provide this agnostic look on things, where I can see your side and I can see their sides and I'll show you the middle and I'll show you the nuances. And that's the other thing that's missing from these conversations. There's no room for nuance. It's like, either Bubba is Jussie Smollett or he's not. And it's just like, maybe Bubba got played, like maybe Bubba really thinks this is a news. He said he never saw it, but if somebody told him that and he was like, well, they milked it from Don Lemon. And I'm like, well, you don't know what it's like to work with celebrities. I do. And the thing is, celebrities do what they do best. So he's a race car driver. He's not making the choice to go see Don Lemon. His team is. His PR agent is saying, look, we got 100 emails today. One of them is Don Lemon. One of them's The View. These are the ones we're going to do, right? He don't get a choice in that matter. I mean, he's allowed to have feedback, but for the most part, you trust your team. That's why they're there, right? So they go through these motions. And they're like, oh, he's grifting. I'm like, he might be, but I'm sure his PR team told him to do the Don Lemon thing. Like, that's just, but again, these people haven't been exposed to a lot of this stuff. You know, I've worked with enough celebrities to where I know how this stuff works. You know, I did the final episode of 106 in Park, you know, so I know how a lot of this TV and celebrities and all this stuff work. And I've been with celebrities who go on TV, say one thing, and when the camera's off, they're a completely different person, right?
Yeah.
So I know the nuances of this thing. And I know why they do certain things, and their checks depend on sponsors. But yeah, you know, I just, you know, some people were so defensive of NASCAR. They didn't want NASCAR to look like a racist organization that they completely threw the potential of this being racial out of the window. Now, again, I'm leaning more on the side that I thought it was a hoax, but I still got to entertain both sides to come to the truth, because the truth is somewhere in the middle. I think the people at NASCAR put that there to get some news traction, right? Somebody wanted to check. Somebody wanted to check somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, some people are like, oh, that's not a noose. It's a Bimini knot or something like that. And I'm like, yo, you're so bent up on trying to make this not a noose,
Right.
that you've identified knots that it's definitely not, right? And I don't know if it's a noose. I'm not no knot expert, but it damn sure looked like a noose, right?
Yeah.
It definitely looks like a noose. So if somebody said, hey, there's a noose in your garage, you can see how it was misconstrued as a noose. So some people are like, oh, a noose doesn't have 7 loops. That's 13. And I'm like, all right, how many people know that, right?
Back to what you said, I don't care enough.
Yeah.
How do you care enough to count knot loops, not loop knots, whatever? I can't for these. This is what these people spend their time. Yeah. Like I'll pick and choose certain things that fit within, and like, and again, I'll hand people the stick, and I've had people DM me and say, I see what you did. They didn't get it. I saw what you did. Well played. You drew them out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you do sometimes, but I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to go, there would be no reason for me to ever go on Fox News.
Yeah.
Unless they do, how can men help themselves? How can you kick an alcohol addiction? How do you deal with depression? If they did something like that. But if it was purely political, I ain't got no damn business up there. I couldn't tell.
You know what the sad part is? These are right-leaning people who are defending NASCAR, but they don't realize that the people that run NASCAR now are leftists.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, the people that were in charge are no longer in charge. The leftists were able to get them out the box through legalese and all types of other legal games. And the leftists have taken over the sport, and that's why you see this hoax pop up, right? So you're defending an organization that you no longer even own, bro. You know, and it's just like if you took a second to chill out a second, you wouldn't be trying to. And it's like, what changes in your life if this thing is a noose or is not a noose? Nothing changes in your life.
Right.
So why are you so hung up on arguing with me about, oh, it's not a noose and you're stupid if you think it's a noose? And I'm like, dude, do you realize I don't care? Do you realize I'm going to get paid off this conversation and you won't?
That's right.
And that's why I'm having the conversation, because we're going to talk about it on Thursday night. I hope that's been told you, because people want to hear the real take. They want to hear both sides. They don't want the one side slanted that the right's going to give them, or the one side slanted that the left's going to give them. They want that middle moderate take so they can hear the truth and all the facts that get drawn out. And if you watch What's Has Been Told You, I detail exactly how leftists took over, and I put the names out there, who the old CEO used to be and who the new one is, because I got people sending me information because they believe in me, you know. But if you took a second to remove your emotions from these topics, you'd be able to see them a lot better.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's one of the big things was that I was talking about the other day is part of the problem that we have now is we don't have we the people. If you really take it back, we don't have we the people. We got these people and we got those people. There's just a few people over there. Oh, look, some more people. The problem is right now is parties. You got the Republican Party, and then you got the Democratic Party. And then further out, you got the conservatives and you got the liberals. And then you got the alt-right, you got the alt-left. And the problem is all of them are arguing that the way to fix the problem is their way according to the party. Nobody's coming together. All these people talking about democracy obviously don't know what the fuck it is. They're not coming together to fix all of these problems. If you really want to help, for instance, if white people really want to help the black community, I'm going to tell you how to do it. I am a neutral stanced white guy who does not, I'm not here to speak for white people. I'm here to speak to white people. And my thing to white people is shut the fuck up. It doesn't involve you. And this is not me pandering to blacks either. That's not what this is. This is me being that gray area guy. Like you said, the only thing that can fix the black community is strong black males. The Hoteps exist for this very reason, because they get to get in there and expose all this shit, and whoever doesn't listen just doesn't listen. Right. But the problem with white people, just like this whole I take responsibility video, even liberals are pissed off about this. Joe Rogan said, he was like, guys, chill out. You're filming again in a week. You're going to be relevant again in a week. It's okay. You know, and just crap like that. You don't care. You memorize lines for, well, I worked in the film industry. You ain't got to memorize lines. You don't memorize lines. So they couldn't at least memorize I take responsibility. They were literally reading I take responsibility. 3 words. This is what makes white people who have some sense look bad. You're making us look bad. Please, I feel like Jack Sparrow. Stop blowing holes in my ship. Just stop. But they won't, because they're getting too much from it. Yeah. And that's the biggest issue right now, man. It's just parties.
You hit the nail on the head, right? And that's why I made this shirt, Shut Up and Code, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody talk too much, right? And then, we talk about the black community, white people, especially on the right, we talk about the right. They got too many opinions. And the sad part is their opinions aren't backed by facts, right? And when, somebody's killed by a cop, we know the left is going to try and monetize it and mobilize behind it. And then the right goes, what about black on black crime? There's nobody marching for this, right? Okay, well, fact check, false. There literally are sub-Hotep groups, not us Hoteps, but there are Hoteps that literally organize protests in the hood annually. Like throughout the summer, there are anti-black on black crimes in every major black city. You know what the problem is? The white liberals don't bring the cameras there. So you don't know about it. So you think people aren't protesting it, but there are whole movements behind this, but the white liberal don't shine the light over there. The other thing is they talk about Chicago. They're like, oh, but the Chicago violence. I'm like, dude, Chicago is the least of our concerns. Can we start? Can you say Trenton? Because that's in my state. And it's about 30 minutes down the road from me. And I'd love if you just changed Chicago to Trenton.
Yeah.
Right? Because Trenton is a shithole. And and they're ranked number 9. Chicago's ranked like 22. More people are dying in Trenton. Can you please, white people, can you please say Trenton next time? Can you please say Baltimore? Can you please say St. Louis? Like, I think St. Louis is top 5. And it's like they run to the same talking points. This is what we were talking about before, where people don't actually understand things. They're just repeating what they see on Twitter. So the blue check marks say Chicago, 100 died this weekend. Oh, yeah, well, 500 died in St. Louis, and you ain't talked about that yet because these talking points don't resonate. The only talking point that resonates is Chicago. So people keep saying Chicago. And I'm like, bro, we're dying in St. Louis. Say St. Louis. Say Trenton. Say
retorts.
Camden.
It's those retorts again, man. Like we talked about earlier, retorts. The only thing worse than a retort is a retort that isn't backed up by evidence.
Yes.
You're missing what's going on because you're holding on to that narrative. tell us about Monica Lewinsky. Remember when Cedric the Entertainer?
Yeah.
You know, they just hold on to that narrative, and it doesn't fix it. Retorts don't fix things. If you want to fix things, you got to bring everything to light, and it takes time. And they don't. You know what doesn't take time? Emotion. Responding from emotion. Logic takes time.
The other thing we got to understand about the Black community is the Black community didn't become this way on its own. They had a lot of help from the FBI, the CIA, the Army, the Navy, the Marines, right? Like people talk about reparations, right? And I'm like, man, white people deserve reparations too when you really do your history. You know, I study U.S. history now because I'm going to write a book on America, so I'm reading all the books on U.S. history. And, you know, there's an ugly past of the United States of America. But if you're not studied up on this history, you would never know about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, man, it just comes down to understanding the nuances of these conversations, and people just don't understand them, you know?
Yeah. I want to get to what few questions we do have that people had, and these are good too. So I'm glad they asked them. So, buddy Jake from State Farm. I don't know how to say his last name, so Absack. If he's listening to this, man, I'm sorry if I butchered that, but Jake's cool, dude. So he says, Hotep's quite well versed in Bitcoin, internet marketing, and social media platforms, etc. What is your role in the tech future, or is it going to be outside of that? So I guess in other words, are you going to be directly more involved in this tech stuff? Because you spoke on that a little bit. If you're not involved in tech, then you got to be involved in something else that's gaining some money. So where do you stand on getting more involved in that? Or are you just going to kind of dabble?
So I'm a co-founder in Gifitize. That's the very simple tool to save GIFs and videos from Twitter. I'm a co-founder in coinbitsapp.com, and that's an investment tool to invest in Bitcoin automatically. It's the easiest way to invest in Bitcoin and the safest way to invest in Bitcoin without even having to think about it. You know, a lot of people understand that there are mental hurdles or technical hurdles to get into Bitcoin, and we remove all of those hurdles and make it so that it's so simple that grandma can buy Bitcoin. And then we have Wazo, and then that's my near and dear AI company started by Riley. And that's a really cool product because we are in retail and security. We're developing software right now for the security stuff is already developed. So the security stuff is like facial recognition, weapon detection, fall detection. And then now we're getting more into the retail side of things. So we're doing like heat mapping. So we can say women between the ages of 18 and 29 or 25 frequent this side of your store, and men frequent this side of your store. Here's some cold parts of your store. So you can kind of optimize your brick and mortar location based upon real-time analytics. We did a people counting initiative for COVID. So every time somebody enters their grocery store, keeps a count, and then it alerts you when you're reaching that limit, and then it alerts you when you go over that limit. So you can basically put you send somebody to the door and say, hey, we've reached the limit, instead of trying. Right now what people are doing, they're hiring somebody to hit this clicker. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you know, that type of thing. But that's just a really flawed way of doing things. But with the AI, we're able to keep an exact count of doing people counting. And then we do some telemetry, some commercial building stuff. And then I'm in talks to talk to another AI company. So I really want to be an AI. I really want to build tools that people need. I'm in coding school now to build my first app, which will be a Twitter companion. I can't say what that is yet. Yeah. So like I said, I've been a tech geek my whole life. I got away from it to learn sales, to learn marketing, to be an artist, music artist. So now that, I'm this homebody and I got kids and I got this time to myself, it's like I'm coming back to my old tech geek roots where when I was 16 and, I went outside, I hung out a lot. I'm not going to say I didn't, but those times when I wasn't hanging out with my friends, I was definitely in my room on a computer, hacking something, or just messing around and trying to create stuff, or just learning. So I'm getting back to, those roots, and I really just want to be a tech geek, man. I consider myself a geek. I just consider myself a geek with a personality, right? Like some geeks don't have a personality. I'm the type of geek that has a personality, has the ability to learn really complex subjects. So, the future for me is, Steve Jobs,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next question is from your BFF, Wendy.
Okay.
How did you, because I said I wanted to touch on this earlier and I forgot, and I'm glad this was her question. So you've been with the same girl for a long time.
Yeah. 20
right?
plus years.
Yeah. So Wendy had just asked, how do you sustain your relationship and make it work? You've been together that long.
Oof.
Mm-hmm.
Man, we went through a lot of rough patches. Some really rough patches, we split up, got back together, split up, got back together at least 1 million times. But I think it came down to, I always say, if your relationship is not working with your woman, it's your fault.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have control over yourself. And once I learned to control myself, I learned to control my woman. And she doesn't know, but I control her. But I do it in very subtle, manipulative ways that puts a smile on her face to where she doesn't even know it. Like the other day, there was something I was really unhappy with her about. And at the time, I was like, I could feel like my temperature rising, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she wasn't around. It wasn't like she did something. It's just like I wanted her to improve and be better, right? And I didn't know how to explain to her to be better. So then I sat there and I thought, all right, let me calm down first. And I'm like, well, what is it that I can do better? So then I was like, what if I pitch this, right? So I pitched a compromise, right? And then she was like, really? Really? You really want to do that? And I'm like, yeah, you're excited about this? She's like, yeah, like, let's do it. So like, I got what I wanted. She got what she wanted, and we're happy, right? Whereas I could have just been like, you don't do this and you don't do that. And I want you to do this and you never do that. I instead said, well, what compromise can I give?
Mm-hmm.
What can I give to receive? You see what I'm saying? And I think once you have that approach about, something's wrong in your relationship, half the time it's probably you. Half the time it's like you're not putting your all into the relationship. You know what I mean? Like, are you saying I love you 2-3 times a day? We know it, we hear it. Are you giving the back rubs like you should? You know what I mean? And the hugs and the attention that women need. And it's like if those things are missing, first, you got to look at that first. Like, am I doing what I need to do? And if you're doing those things that you need to be doing, either that's annoying the person and they don't need that type of love, or you can go to the next level where you're just with a trashy person. It's just like, well, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing and they're not doing shit. And you try to compromise and they don't want to compromise. And it's like, all right, well, you might need to go on. But I don't know. I think it's just about taking responsibility for yourself, man. And, in my book, Unbreakable Rules of Masculinity, I explain exactly how men can kind of have better relationships with women. That's really what it's about. And I believe that the state of women is men's fault. Rolo doesn't agree with me. And, he's somewhere else on this. But I fully believe that we agree where, a relationship based upon framing, how you meet a woman, how you treat her when you first meet her, is going to determine how that relationship lasts. And I do agree with that. But I really feel that if your woman isn't performing the way you want her to, it's not her fault. It's your fault. You don't know how to be a man.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, because that's somewhere where I didn't realize it, but Rollo and I would also disagree. You know, that being said, rational male legit saved me. It saved my life. I wasn't
Oh, it's an
suicidal.
excellent
Yeah,
document.
I don't know what it's like to be suicidal. So when I say it saved my life, I mean I was in a downward spiral. I was dating this girl who was legit dating somebody else at the same time. No lie. And at 39 years old, I ain't got time for that, man. I don't have time to be lied to. I don't have time for red flags. I don't have time for any of that shit. And as I was having the one-itis, the thing about it is that, you know, like you said, if something goes wrong, it's your fault. And even in this, as bad as she was the prime example. She would have been an example in the rational male that he would have used.
Yeah.
Even so, we as men are expected and required to carry the world on our shoulders.
Yeah.
We can take responsibility for our relationship failures.
Yeah.
That's what you do. Everything changes when you start to take responsibility. It's not necessarily your fault, but it's definitely your responsibility. Everything that happens to you in your life and involves you, including your marriage, your business, everything, if you fix yourself, I can't tell somebody how to better their business, but I can teach a man how to be a better man so that it improves his business, so it improves his love life, so it improves his business even more because he's not going to work mad. He's not coming home and taking it out on his wife. And then when his wife nags because he's nagging her, he takes it back to work. It all starts with taking that ownership. The problem is me. Doesn't women are women. You're not going to fix them. You got to fix you. If you fix you and she's still acting up, then you got to bounce. That's just how it is. That's what I tell people. And so I'm in agreement with you on that as well. You know, but at the same time now, you know, Rollo's not a men's coach and Rollo's not, as a personal trainer, I've had to tell my clients, you don't have enough struggle in your life. You're a fucking trust fund kid. You need to go out there and find something hard to do because you're a pussy in this gym and you're probably a pussy out there. So you got to go out there and find a struggle and don't come back to me. I have fired people before. I have fired people for being weak. I would go when I worked at LA Fitness. I would go there. I can't train this dude. He's untrainable or she's untrainable, whatever, because I ain't got time for it.
Yeah.
But and I had to make sure that the problem was not me. Sometimes in that it's not, but in your relationship, like you said, it's going to be the man. The man has got to step up. He's got to carry the world. He can carry the marriage.
Yeah.
You know? But I think it's so admirable that you've been with her that long and you guys wanted to make it work so much that you did make it work. And it's sorely missed right now.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've been with her since high school. You know, we're quote unquote high school sweethearts, right? Mm-hmm. And the way we met would be funny. You know, I was a popular guy in high school, and I was popular in my town. I remember one time, I was dating this girl from West Orange, and I picked her up and we came like down by my house and we went to McDonald's to get some food. And the girl behind the counter was like, "Are you Brian Sharp?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, it's Brian Sharp, it's Brian Sharp." I mean, and my girl is looking at me like, "Yo, what's good?" I'm like, "Yo, I'm just kind of like popular around here, right?" I was just like a ladies' man, you know, and so yeah, you know, I was like a popular dude. So my girl had just broken up with her boyfriend, and she wasn't my girl at the time. I'm sitting there playing Grand Theft Auto on the PlayStation. I get this phone call, and it's like, such and such needs a date to the prom. And I'm like, I don't do that no more. I used to be the guy, like, everybody called up, like, "Can you take me to the prom? Can you take me to the prom?" Mm-hmm. And it was like, I did that for my best friend the year after I graduated. I did my girl because she went to another high school. And then I did Nikki. So I was like, I didn't do like 5 proms. I'm done, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, she's cute. We can talk. We can chat, you know?
Yeah.
So we became close and we started out as friends. Like it was nothing like that. But I think because, you know, I was so young and she was so young that we didn't know shit, right? Like we didn't know who we were. We didn't know what we wanted out of our future. Yeah. So there was a lot of growing we had to do as individuals. And then she got pregnant really young, you know, freshman year of college. So, you know, you can imagine how immature we were, you know, so, you know, we just had a lot of rough patches just, you know, from growing. There was money problems. But, you know, I was intelligent enough to know that I didn't want some other dude raising my children. You know what I mean? I'll be damned, because I just don't want to have to kill somebody. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. You were talking about that the other night. I'm so afraid I got to go to prison for my daughter.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. Because like me, I don't even have kids.
Yeah.
But I know how I was over my cats.
Yeah.
And like, if you're that way over a pet, if I got a little mini human, and I'm trying to set an example for her, for what she needs to look for in a guy.
Yeah.
And like, I get the whole dad thing. Like when you walk in and he just met you, and the first thing he says, "You hurt my baby, I'm gonna kill you."
Yeah.
Well, cool. If she does anything to hurt me, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah.
So we good,
Yeah.
I was that person. But yeah, at the same time, I can. It's one of the reasons I'm kind of apprehensive about having kids, because I got a cousin that's got 2 daughters, and he's like the nicest guy. He kind of reminds you of Cecil Turtle.
Okay.
Kind of what it looks like. And he's always been old. He was old when he was 4 years old.
Yeah.
He's a workhorse. He works for the sheriff's department. He cuts grass. He does all kinds of stuff. He's a handyman. Everything. Just phenomenal guy. And he goes up and he gets in the principal's face and he's like, "Look, I don't. I think some dude like popped her bra or something. I don't know. She was like 11 or something at the time. And girls get breasts at like 5 now.
Yeah.
And so I think he popped a bra or something. I don't know. But he went up there and told the principal. He said, "If I had to come up here again, I will not be wearing this uniform." He was like, Mr. Armstrong, you don't have to threaten me." He said, "It ain't a threat." He said, "Don't let me come back up here again. So make sure this doesn't happen again."
Yeah.
And because I know what he's capable of. He picked up another human being and threw him over the truck.
Okay.
At like 120 pounds, another guy weighed like 230.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. And I know how I would probably be that snap-worthy if I had a little girl and I got to go up there to the school and I'm kind of a hillbilly white guy. So there's nothing stopping me from shooting up the school. That's what we do. Shooting up the movie theater, shooting the dog, shooting the principal. I mean, everybody, shooting up the Costco, whatever. Yeah. And I mean, like, I feel you on it. I really feel you on that, man.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to be in my daughter's life and I love my girl, so, but it's after a while, love doesn't even mean shit, right? Like in a relationship, after 20 years, love don't mean shit. You can love somebody and still do them dirty. You know what I mean? Like I've done so much dirt and still love to, it comes down to, compromise, understanding, and respect, and humbling yourself, right? Like you gotta humble yourself and say, "Look, this is who I'm with. This is my life partner, and we're gonna ride out till death." You know what I mean? Like you could have gotten a lot worse, right? Like when I look at some of my exes now, I'm like, "Ooh, I dodged a bullet." Right. So it's like instead of looking at like, "Hey, I could do better," everybody thinks they can do better, and everybody thinks the grass is greener until you get over there and you find out she's just as crazy as the one you just had, if not crazier. You know what I mean?
It's green because there was so much shit on it. Grass grows greener with manure. That's how it works, man. Just keep fucking with dead grass, man. Just it'll come through. Yeah. Just roll you some sod out there. Just roll you some sod. Get your own sod. Roll it. Make your own grass green.
Yeah, and I feel like I put all these years in. That was investment,
Yes.
And I helped her grow as a person. She helped me grow as a person. It's like I invested all this time. I ain't about to let somebody else get my investment. You know what I mean? I already know what it like to have a blog and give it away for nothing. So,
that hurt my heart when I read that, man. Because I was like, man, how much info, how much was on that thing, man?
Thousands.
Because you know what you could have done, because people very seldom complain about this. I see a few 1-star reviews for books. It's like, well, it's just a bunch of blog posts in a book, but people buy it because they want it in that condensed form. They don't want to have to go through, and look for stuff. Yeah. And that could have been another book, a whole nother book.
I mean, it's when you think about, like, we're talking about my blog now, and it's doing millions of hits, and I just didn't agree what the practice was in the recording industry, so I wanted out and I deleted my blog. And it's kind of like purchasing a house on an acre of land, and nurturing it, upgrading the house, And then one day you go, I don't like this house. I'm going to burn it, set it on fire, and then you walk away. And it's just like, yo, you invested so much time into that. And then you gave it away and somebody else is going to inherit it now, right?
Yeah.
Now, they don't get all my backlinks, but some Chinese company went and bought my .com and they own it. So I'm sure they're getting some backlinks, right? Just because they have the defdam.com.
Definitely.
But, just the fact that me now, like currently, that'd still be a 6-figure earner.
Absolutely.
Just sitting there, just sitting there. Like I wouldn't even have to think about it, right? Just the checks would be coming in.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a huge mistake, biggest mistake of my life. That's why people are like, how come you're not a millionaire? I'm like, you don't want to know. They don't want to know. Because every time I got to tell that story, it hurts me a little bit more.
Yeah, because you've established, you've already established the empire that is Hotep. You don't want to go and tell them that you did that kind of a fuck up.
Yeah, I had an empire. Yeah, I had an empire and I burnt it down.
I had one. Let's just focus on a new one for right now. How about that? And then when I am a millionaire, we can talk about how I threw it in the toilet the first time because I went to that manure grass. You know what I'm saying? So best for last. We touched on this, but you can expand on it. You may have seen this. I'm guessing it's some kind of online newspaper. It's the Epoch Times opinion. So single motherhood in the Black household has become the normative mode of operation. The Black father is needed more than ever in America. The lack of fathers in the home is a more pressing issue than racism.
Fake news. That's entirely fake news. In fact, when we look at the rates of fatherlessness, they're higher amongst the white community than they are amongst the Black community. Black men are more likely to stay with their women and with their family than white men are. White men tend to leave their women faster and children faster than Black men do. So this is a stereotype that takes a very small demographic and inflates it and tries to make it into something else. So yeah, that's fake news, cherry picking statistics. Is it a problem? I think it's a problem. Absolutely. I think there is, the rate of fatherlessness is way too high. But again, that ain't the Black community's fault. We got to understand that much of this, I'll put Vietnam aside. I mean, I'll put World War I and World War II aside, but Vietnam alone, you got to understand that we forced Black men into the army to go fight a war in an army that was practically segregated still, sent us to the front lines to die. We went to Vietnam, we got opioid addictions. And then when we came home to the Rockefeller laws. So they sent us overseas to get an addiction. Because you got to think about, this is Vietnam, right? Like Vietnam was one of the ugliest wars ever. How do you cope with that mentally, right? Like we talk about like PTSD. So when people say, well, they shouldn't have been doing drugs. And it's like, your granddaddy ain't see battle like some people saw battle. You know what I mean? Like they were sending Black units out first to die, right? So how do you cope with this? You pick up drugs. So you can't say what you would have did when you didn't have those bombs flying over your head and those bullets flying over your head and you didn't watch your homie's head get blown off. It's really hard to sleep. So you take drugs to help you sleep, just like people do today. That's why the opioid addiction is big today, because people are trying to cope with life. These men had to cope with PTSD and war. Then when we came home to the Rockefeller laws that said you get caught with a rock, you're doing 10 years. So it's like you gave us the drug addiction, then you locked us up when we came home with the drug addiction, right? And you're not arresting people just for distribution. You're arresting them for possession. So it's like it's illegal to do drugs. Like that's some communist shit right there. Like I firmly believe if you want to do crack, you should be able to do crack. If you want to do marijuana or heroin, that's your business, right? I don't think it should be criminalized. Whether distribution, we can argue about that. I would say distribution should be legal too, because the fucking goddamn pharmacy is distributing all these drugs that are giving people the opioid addiction, and they're doing it legally, right? That's a whole nother story for another day. But then we got to understand that after we overcome the Rockefeller laws and after we overcome Vietnam, we get the Black Panther Party, right? But what they do with the Black Panther Party, they infiltrated with the FBI and gave everybody drug addictions again. So we recover from that. After recover from that, we get the Bloods and we get the Crips. Now, Blood stands for brotherly love overrides oppression and destruction. It doesn't mean I'm going to shoot my fellow brother. It means I'm going to protect my brother. But again, FBI goes in, cause interterritorial warfare, and you get what we have today, where it's just now recently that the Bloods and the Crips are coming back to their inception, and it's more about bringing up the next generation and making sure they get education and making sure that they're introduced to life the proper way, you know? But the Black, like, so people say, oh, you guys want reparations? Yeah, I want reparations for everything the government did to us. It's not for slavery. Slavery was, you know, years ago. Black people own slaves. So it ain't for slavery. It's for what the government did to us. And that's why I said I can make a case for white people too. If you wanted me to, I could show you a million reasons why white people, the Italians was dealing with segregation. The Irish was dealing with segregation. You had to have socialist worker parties just for Italians, socialist worker parties just for Irish. So I can make a case for a lot of different nations to get reparations. So when I say reparations today, I'm talking about even the redlining practices. You know, like I went out to Akron, Ohio with my AI team, and he was telling me, like, you know, they purposely put the Black community where the wind would blow the tire factory smoke. So you smelled it in the Black community, but you didn't smell it in the white community. And it was set up like that on purpose, you know? So it's like, we're asking for reparations for what the government did to us. So when you say, oh, there's not Black fathers there, it's like, well, yeah, because we're incarcerated at a higher rate. It's not like we left, we got arrested. And a lot of times unfairly for communist BS. You know, so, you know, again, I'm not saying it's white people's fault. You never heard me say white people did it. I said the government, FBI, these are legit gripes. In fact, during the Obama administration, it came out that I believe it was the CIA said to El Chapo, look, you're bringing way too much drugs in here. We're going to have to come in. Just put the drugs in Chicago. This is the agreement with El Chapo. So El Chapo goes, oh, so I can have Chicago? Then white people go, oh, look at Chicago. It's like, yo, like the government basically gave El Chapo permission to put the drugs there, and you're blaming us for it. We don't know how to cook crack. We don't know how to make cocaine. Somebody else got to make this and bring this stuff here. We're not chemists. Yeah. Y'all put the drugs in our neighborhood. Y'all put the AK in our neighborhood. We don't make these things. We don't have access to these things. Right. Russians are selling us the guns. Right? Like, I used to know a kid that used to run guns. One of my homies went to jail for running guns. He wasn't getting them from Black people. He was getting them from cops. Right? He was getting them from federal agents. So it's not like we did this. Now, that's not to say the onus isn't on us to repair the damage, because I think if you have a foreign enemy, it's not your enemy's job to clean up the mess, right? It's your job. And that's why I have a problem with the Al Sharptons and the Sean Kings, because, and the media, because the media won't bring Hotep Jesus on to talk about repairing the Black community, because it's not founded in victimhood. They only want me to talk about the Rockefeller laws. They only want me to talk about the bad things that happened to us. But I'm not going to go in the media and just talk about the bad. I'm going to talk about how we can actually get out of this. And it has nothing to do with white people, and it has nothing to do with the government. And that's what they don't like. Yep.
That's exactly right. And we touched on it earlier, and it's a perfect note to end it on. We've gone pretty much 2.5 hours. This is the longest podcast I've ever done. So that was good. So yeah, how can everyone find you as far as social media, as far as podcast, website, everywhere to find you, and your books?
Yeah, Hotep Jesus on Twitter. And get on my email list, briansharp.co, BRYANSHARPE.co. That's Brian with the Y, Sharp with an E, .co. Get on my email list. Let's connect. Let's work.
Absolutely. So I want to thank you again for doing this. I really enjoyed it. Hope we can do it again soon. Yeah, hell yeah, man. Because things keep happening. They just keep giving us content. So
content for days.
We'll just go with it. So that being said, For myself, Jayson the Argonaut, and the almighty Hotep Jesus, we'll be seeing you next time.